The story starts with the hero Eugene defeating the notorious demon lord Venom Zard. Strangely, Eugene doesn't look happy despite his victory. He came to the castle to defeat the demon lord, but now that he has achieved his goal, he feels drained and empty. The demon lord, noticing Eugene's dissatisfaction, asks if he plans to end his story there, to which Eugene nods in agreement. As a token of respect for his accomplishment, the demon lord offers Eugene a reward, any wish he desires before his impending demise. Eugene, without much thought, wishes for a family. However, regret immediately washes over him. The demon lord explains that this is no ordinary wish. It's a secret art passed down among the Demon King's relatives for generations. It's the art of reincarnation. Eugene's impulsive wish triggers a profound change in his fate, one that will take him far beyond his initial quest and into a new, unforeseen chapter of life, with no turning back. Instead of living a life that was just a continuation of his late grandfather's story, hero Eugene reincarnated into a new body and was ready to spin his own story with his own hands. When he opened his eyes, a man asked him if he was okay and called him his brother. Eugene didn't seem to understand what was happening, and maids approached asking if everyone was all right. The man said his brother fell from the stairs, and when Eugene started to question where he was, he realized he hit his head hard. When he got up and saw his face in the mirror, he was in shock and couldn't believe all of this was real. He was a young boy and his eyes and hair were a different color. It seemed like he was reincarnated in the body of Julius von Carlyle with a new family. When he came to have breakfast, his father and mother were praising his brother about getting a full score on his test again. Gaius was his little brother. It seemed like he had already been reincarnated as a baby in that world. However, from that moment, his awareness and ego as a hero disappeared. Still, he couldn't seem to remember anything from up until he was 15 years old, and he decided to observe the family for now. While being proud of the little brother Gaius, his father seemed ashamed of him. He thought he fell down the stairs earlier because he was always in a daze. The other day, his teacher told his father that with his grades, it would be difficult for him to graduate, and he was very ashamed. For his father, it was very presumptuous of him to even breathe the same air as them, since he was a disgrace to their household. He couldn't believe parents were this harsh to their own children and thought Julius was a big dropout. Gaius left the table while saying he didn't want to hear this anymore. He thought his brother was actually a good guy who would protect him, but instead Gaius stated that he was considering himself as an only child. He was speechless by how his existence itself was denied by his own brother. Gaius told him to take another carriage since he didn't want to be seen together with him while on their way to the school. Julius was so disappointed by his family that he requested it. According to his vague memory, the 15-year-old attended the same school as his twin brother. From behind the school building, a bunch of students were bullying him to give them money or he would get hurt. He couldn't believe Julius was being forced to do something like this. While thinking how pathetic Julius was, he saw his brother on the stairs and asked for his help, but as expected, he ignored him. The student got angrier and was ready to punch him, but he exhaled and something unbelievable happened. He used chanted enhanced magic, and instead of him, the student got hurt. They couldn't believe someone like him could use such advanced magic since he was a failure in magic. He wanted them to calm them and stop overreacting, but the wolf one got super angry and was about to kill him. He was sick of not being able to take a break when he was just reincarnated there, and he flew the guy with one fist. The guy begged him to not kill him, and he lent him a hand and healed him immediately. He explained that he used simple recovery magic, but he didn't believe him since it was a magic that even court mages can't use. He didn't know that because, for him, magic was something that even children could use. They ran away from him, and he found it weird that they were so surprised by the basic magic he used. It seemed like this world was slightly different from the one he was in before. He was confused because even though he could be in a different world, his power seemed to be the same as before he was reincarnated. He wondered if it would be better to not stand out. His brother was liked by everyone, while he was totally discriminated by his classmates, and even looking at him made them feel disgusted. His classmates thought he was acting weird since he greeted some of them, even though he was the older brother. While he was sitting in his seat thinking about how miserable Julius's life was, a girl with long hair approached him and told him that he was sitting in her seat. He got up and apologized for his mistake, and the girl said it was fine. He introduced himself and wondered if they could be friends, and the girl was so surprised and looked very shy. She explained that she was gloomy and was ostracized by everyone, but he thought she was so cute and it was a waste that she was ostracized. Before she said anything, the teacher came and told everyone to be quiet. The teacher explained that today's first period would be about what happened 2,000 years ago, the history of the legendary hero Eugene. Eugene was shocked that he defeated the demon lord 2,000 years ago. The second period was a class focusing on practical skills. Today's regular magic measurements will be conducted. The teacher started explaining the crystal of the magic power measurement, and he thought he had seen something like that in his previous life too. The teacher asked them to come when their name was called. The first student came and his magic power was only 15, which made Eugene surprised. In his previous world, the average value for a 15-year-old was about 4 digits. Even though the boy got 15, the teacher stated that he passed, which made him shocked. When it was Gaius' turn, the whole class was excited to see the result. Eugene was also curious about his power. The moment the crystal showed 50, the whole class was in shock, but he was disappointed. It was his turn, and he didn't know how he should act, but Gaius wanted to state his opinions and told him that he was sure it would be a zero and a scum like him without magic power should just leave the school. The fact that the new him was hated by not only his classmates and his family, but also by his brother made him recall a memory of him with his grandfather. His grandfather was the strongest and most respected hero in all of history, and was defeated by the demon lord Venom Zard. The people fell into despair and condemned the hero who failed to subdue the demon lord. Then, carrying the stigma on his back, he endured loneliness and was banished from the city. He lived quietly in the remote mountains. However, he still took good care of him. After his grandfather's death, he became a hero and fulfilled his wish of defeating the demon lord, but his grandfather also wished him to have a normal life and make a new family. He got a new family now, but his brother was looking down on him, so as an older brother, he decided to give it his all to prove his magic power, and used his magic power drill. That was a special breathing technique that takes in the magical elements in the atmosphere and transforms them, and it seemed like no one in that world knew that. The whole class was in shock and couldn't believe his power. He made a whole mess and broke the crystal. The whole class and his brother were too stunned to speak. Eugene said even though he held back, it still exploded and asked if he had to do it again since it broke. Gaius couldn't believe that his big brother, who should have zero magic power, was so strong. In the next class, their teacher asked if there was anyone who knew what the magic circle on the board was. She asked if Julius knew it, and his classmates told the teacher that he wouldn't be able to answer such an advanced problem. He stood up and said that it was a beginner fireball, which was the correct answer. The whole class couldn't believe could answer a question like that. He even came to the board and corrected the teacher's mistakes, and made a perfect magic circle. The teacher was stunned. Even though the number of lines was reduced, the power was tripled, and the activation time was shortened to the limit. It was indeed a beautiful and advanced magic circle. Gaius broke the pencil in his hand out of jealousy and anger. After lunch, Julius was sleepy and came to the class. A bunch of girls were gathered to bully the girl Julius sat next to. One of the girls even tried to cut her hair, but Julius saved the girl. He said it was dangerous for a girl like her to swing something sharp while holding the scissors. The girl defended herself by saying long bangs were a violation of the school rules and she was just being careful. He then decided to cut it for her, and when he cut her bangs, her cuteness came out. Everyone was amazed by her beautiful face. Julius told her that she was cute enough to make the whole class go crazy, so she should have more confidence. She thanked him and introduced herself. Her name was Elise. It seemed like Elise, who was a half-breed, had been bullied for a long time now because of her ears. In the next class, they measured their magic power. If they shoot their magic at that scarecrow, their strength would be quantified. That wasn't something he had in his past life, so he was interested in it. While the teacher was looking for a student who could provide an example, voices from the back, Gaia and Historia, could be heard. Julius was very surprised to see them kissing during the lesson. Even the teacher couldn't say anything about this inappropriate behavior. Julius wondered how his brother could be attracted to girls like these. Historia informed Gaia that someone was looking at them with jealousy, and his brother asked him what he wanted. Julius, pretending not to care, approached Elise and asked who the girl next to his brother was. Historia was the 8th princess of the kingdom and the most noble girl among the nobility. Surprisingly, she was Julius's fiancée. Julius apologized for forgetting and tried to mumble something, trying not to make it obvious. While questioning why his fiancée was so close to his brother, Historia called out to him and asked why he had whispered to an ugly girl and left her alone. Julius didn't seem to understand what she meant because, for him, Elise was much sweeter than Historia. Julius asked Historia why he kissed his brother despite being engaged to him. Historia explained that their engagement had been entirely selfishly arranged by their families, and she didn't accept it. She mentioned that she was only interested in Gaius, and didn't want a dropout brother like him. As their classmates whispered about how unlucky he was, Julius decided to leave her to his brother when Historia chose his brother over him. Gaius commented that he was crazy. He couldn't believe he was leaving her instead of getting angry and jealous. Julius explained that if his little brother has mutual feelings with another person, then he should congratulate him as his older brother. The teacher interrupted them and told them to sit since they were still in class. Gaius asked the teacher if they were going to measure the strength of the magic power, they should turn it into a battle. Historia requested the teacher to make her opponent Julius. As she asked, they would conduct the test in a one-on-one match, and the match would end when one faints or surrenders. Julius said if they were going to measure the magic power, there was no reason to fight. Historia had enough and told him to let himself be beaten up by her. She was planning to beat him up for embarrassing Gaius. The match started and she was planning to finish it with one move. She used her strongest and most invincible summon. She brought up a guardian beast that has been passed down within her household from generation to generation. and it was a 30-level salamander. She ordered Salamander to show that half-wit the reality of his life. She asked how his beast premium breath tasted, even though she was sure she wouldn't get an answer. However, Julius was standing there complaining about the smoke like nothing had happened. Historia was shocked that he had no scratch. He said that with a flame like that, she would be fine when going up against amateur adventurers. He asked if they were going to continue battling, and she ordered Salamander to blow him again. Julius again avoids everything without moving from his spot. The beast seemed tired, and he claimed that its magic power was almost gone. Now that it has come to that, she ordered Salamander to use their trump card and make him fly away. The beast jumped and crushed him, but he stopped the beast with his one hand and told her that something like that wasn't enough to defeat him. Everyone was confused and thought all of that was impossible, and he explained that he was strengthening his body with his aura. It was Historia's first time hearing something like that. He didn't care about that and returned the beast to him, and before Salamander crushed her, he went and saved her. Even though he saved her, she was still calling him degenerate and told him to let go of her. The students started to question Julius's power and thought he was partly amazing. When one of them claimed that he was actually stronger than his little brother, Gaius was furious. After the class, Gaius broke up with Historia. Julius heard the noises they made and asked what was happening. Gaius explained that a lot of things happened and he was breaking up with his girlfriend. He was surprised since they were all lovey-dovey a while ago. When Gaius told him that she had always been his fiancée, Julius stated he would annul their engagement and wished them to get along. Historia told him that if he did that, she would get scolded by Otu. He didn't really understand why she was acting like that since she was the one who flirted with his younger brother. She asked him to forgive her for cheating, but he said there were others if she was looking for a partner. She insisted that it had to be him because he was the child of prophecy as told by a great fortune teller. Even if he was, he still didn't want her, so he turned to ask his brother to say something, and Gaius was already gone. Historia embraced Julius's leg and apologized, swearing that she wouldn't do it again. The 8th princess served as a bridge between 3 families, and she was afraid of losing her position if she parted ways with him. Julius, even if he were reincarnated, was displeased with annoying things following him. Meanwhile, Gaius was walking down the corridor with an angry expression. The next day, Julius woke up before sunrise and went out to the balcony, where he saw his brother practicing with a man. The man took pride in the fact that the younger brother could reach impressive heights instead of the useless older one. Julius wondered who the man was and why he was teaching unnecessary things. The man wasn't using Enhance and hadn't even shown him how to use his aura. He believed that what they were doing without them was just a sword game. Using his aura, he descended perfectly to the ground from the balcony and created a magic towel. He told Gaius that he was doing well, but his younger brother was surprised because he didn't sense his presence. Julius said that instead of playing such games around, he would teach him and the man real swordsmanship. The man who was the kingdom's powerful knight couldn't say anything against Julius humiliating him. His brother told him that was such a rude thing to say and who he thought this person was, and he claimed that the man was a neighborhood uncle based on his ineffective swordsmanship. That was the man's last straw, and he wouldn't allow him to insult him any further. Julius skillfully dodged each of the man's sword strikes one by one, feeling quite drowsy as the man was moving very slowly. Using his creation magic power, he conjured a sword and effortlessly sliced the man's sword in half with a single move. His brother, shocked by what just happened, asked how he did it. Julius told him it was a simple parry. Hearing the word parry, the man inquired if Julius was talking about the technique mentioned in the swordsmanship instruction book, the one referred to as the ultimate secret techniques. Julius thought that the technique he used was the simplest one of them all. He came to the conclusion that not only their magical technology, but also their swordsmanship was lacking. Gaius asked, since when has he been carrying that sword, and he explained that he just made it right now. The man couldn't believe the strongest and oldest sacred sword that had been passed down from generation to generation in his household broke like that. Hearing it was a sacred sword, Julius created another one with creation magic, which made the man more shocked. Julius thought everything was good now, but his brother was still in denial that he had become a completely different person and was strong. Julius knew that he wouldn't believe it if he said the truth, so he asked to go get some breakfast together and even offered to make pancakes for him. However, Gaius told him to stop acting like a big brother to him after all this time. Apparently, he still didn't acknowledge him as his older brother. When they were at school, their class was about conducting a summoned servant. Julius couldn't understand what the summoned servant was, and Elisa explained that the teacher was referring to a familiar. As first years, they would be performing a ritual to summon monsters that would become their familiars. He didn't know that since he had never been a student before. He complimented Elise about how she knew a lot and how she was cute. The teacher then explained what a familiar was. A familiar was summoned by sending their magic power into the magic circle of the summon servant spell. Julius found it interesting since he had never seen 2,000 years ago. When one of the students reformed the ritual, a level 15 white wolf came out and he passed the average score. While he was thinking how low the levels were, Gaius asked the teacher to have him do his turn next. He turned to Julius and told him to watch while he was rooting for him. Gaius completed the ritual and a level 50 griffin appeared. The class was hyped up by Heaven's champion, the griffin. Julius didn't seem to be impressed and wanted him to redo it since a flying chicken wasn't his potential. Everyone was shocked by his words because a griffin was referred to as the king of the sky and was a rare and precious monster. He didn't care about that and asked Gaius if he could do more than this. He asked if Julius could summon a monster even better than that. At first, Julius hesitated since he had not called a familiar before, but he did it anyway. First, he collected magic power from the atmosphere with a magic power drill towards the magic circle. The sky cracked and a huge monster with an unknown level appeared. No one knew what kind of a monster was, and the monster started speaking. Everyone but Julius was shocked by that. A familiar doesn't usually speak, and they have never seen nor heard of a familiar that had knowledge of human language. Even the teacher asked him what kind of a giant dragon was. He explained that there was a dragon that had been feared by the people since ancient times, befitting the name Clefort, the evil dragon, emperor of the disasters. It was a creature that emitted enormous magic power from its body, and those who lay their eyes upon it were said to have their spirit destroyed from the horror. The name of that dragon was the Demon Lord Venom Zard. The Demon Lord greeted him. It seemed like some students were being affected by its magic power. As expected of him, the Demon Lord was glad he retained his strength even after being reincarnated. To be able to stand up even while being in its near vicinity requires a big amount of strength after all. It was not the time to praise him since the people were having a hard time, so he asked the Demon Lord to contain its magic for a bit. The Demon Lord dragon turned into a beautiful lady. Gaius didn't believe that it was impossible for Julius to have a high-level servant who could even transform into a human form. Julius was showing off his familiar and Gaius got even more furious, so he wanted to conduct a servant battle to see whose familiar was better. This made the Demon Lord very angry, and with one look his griffin was destroyed. Gaius fell down on the floor and couldn't believe that the servant who destroyed his griffin just by a glare had the same potential as Julius. That would also mean that he was stronger than Gaius, and he got very depressed about that fact. The Demon Lord wasn't satisfied with the level of that world, and as she expected, the only thing that could shake her heart was a battle with him. He questioned if she was the real Demon Lord, and she approved him. Servant Summon didn't necessarily call upon the real thing, and it was like a ritual to manifest a copy of the real deal. Moreover, it seemed like the summons had a code of absolute obedience embedded into them, making them unable to disobey the summoner's commands. Even though her body was indeed the Demon Lord, at the same time she exists as his faithful servant. Suddenly, she made everyone sleep for a while with her magic power so they wouldn't get in the way. He wondered the reason for that, and she explained that their reunion was making her chest beat fast. To celebrate their meeting after 2,000 years, she wanted to have a match with her master hero, Eugene. He got confused since she was supposed to be in complete obedience to him, but she explained that the battle could be considered as entertainment like a whim. He accepted her offer and got into his serious mode, and the battle started. Julius effortlessly parried her initial attack, which came as no surprise. Before she could complete her sentence, he swiftly counterattacked, immobilizing one of her arms. She appeared to be thoroughly enjoying herself, regenerating her arm instantly. However, the excitement was far from over as she channeled her magical energy, unleashing a relentless assault with her 1,000 fists, making it virtually impossible for Julius to evade. Meanwhile, in the manner of a renowned fortune-teller, an unprecedented surge of magical power emanated from the western sky. This surge was unlike anything he had ever sensed before, so potent that it seemed capable of obliterating the entire world. When the Demon Lord delivered a powerful punch to Julius, he couldn't help but notice that her blows had little to no effect on him. It was perplexing to her that he remained so composed, even after enduring a barrage of 1,000 punches. 2,000 years ago, their strengths had been evenly matched, but the current Demon Lord appeared considerably weaker in comparison. She couldn't conceal her surprise. However, Julius couldn't shake the feeling that he hadn't become stronger. The Demon Lord, on the other hand, began to chuckle and informed him that they were linked by a magical tether known as a magic path. This magic path was a binding seal connecting a master and a demon. In essence, it meant that she hadn't grown weaker. He had become exceptionally powerful. Still, Julius remained skeptical of his newfound strength. The timing of their reunion couldn't have been more opportune, as she had intended to unleash her full power, providing Julius with an opportunity to gauge the extent of his own strength. In the midst of this magical confrontation, an intricate web of fate and power continued to unravel, forever altering the destinies of these two formidable beings. She turned his evil god dragon mode, and he was amazed by her tremendous power. It was true that the Demon Lord's power hadn't gotten weaker. She wanted him to show how he does and made the first attack with her full power, which was the Dragon Bulls. However, Julius inflicted no damage. He was disappointed by her power since she made him suffer once. She seemed to be having fun and was happy that he was her master. The batter was only starting from now on, she thought, but he stated that it had already been decided and asked if she hadn't noticed. Before she could say something, her body was split in half. The battle ended, and she seemed to be very energetic for a person who got cut in half. She stated that she was happy to be able to serve him as a servant from now on. He didn't expect her to stay with him, but he still thanked her. He was able to enjoy living in that period all because of her. Meanwhile, a man with glasses was watching them and found out the king of the heroes was woken up. He needed to confirm as soon as possible whether or not he was a suitable vessel for the upcoming era. While the man was planning some evil things, Julius was looking for something in the forest. After a while, he found his home and he put up a protection spell to prevent it from decaying. In the grandfather's grave, he told him about what the teacher taught in the class about him while drinking a bottle of wine. It was a good thing he got reincarnated in the same world. He was able to be there and visit his grandfather's grave because of that. He suddenly had an idea and started using his power of creation to create 2 swords. He used the swords to call someone, which was his grandfather. He summoned his grandfather's soul with such ease. It turns out, about 2,000 years ago, his grandfather gave him a letter about what would happen after he died. His grandfather wanted him to go visit the orphanage that was written on the paper, and he left all his assets and fortune to him. In exchange, he requested him to have a common and average life. He didn't want his grandson to be a hero and suffer like he did. Nevertheless, he didn't listen to him and became a hero and defeated the demon lord. His grandfather wasn't really surprised because he was the kind of kid who would do something 100 or 1,000 times better after being taught. He apologized to Eugene for cursing his life, but Eugene didn't want him to talk like that since he carried on his desire by his own will and he wasn't regretting anything. However, his grandfather saw him trying to kill himself after defeating the demon lord. That was why he needed to apologize. Eugene killed off all his guilt and deep regrets, but he still wondered to himself if his grandfather was resting peacefully in heaven. There was one thing his grandfather regretted, and it was him. He stated that if he lived his second life doing things he loved with no care in the world, he wouldn't have any complaints. Not caring part was difficult for Eugene, but his grandfather still wanted him to look for it. Something he could tell others proudly that he wanted to do this his whole life. The choices were countless, just like the stars in the sky. His grandfather's one and only wish was for him to find something that he wanted and chase. Eugene promised to try his best. He mentioned that he didn't use most of the things he left him before he died and apologized. It was okay for his grandfather. They were family after all. Eugene recalled a memory of his grandfather telling him about the fact that his family wasn't dead, and he found him in the middle of a fire. Not a single person died from the fire, so there was a possibility of his parents being alive. In other words, he wasn't one of his family members. Even though he was so little back then, he was glad that he was raised by him and he considered his grandfather as his one and only family. Before he disappeared, his grandfather told him that he was the grandson that he was proud to have. After he left, Eugene was in deep thought about what he really wanted to do. He was no longer Eugene, he was Julius von Carlyle. This was his second chance at life, and he should try his best to enjoy living. Meanwhile, at the Historia's mansion, her father was scolding her about the message he got from the Duke of the Carlyle family, saying that he wanted to cancel the betrothal because of her intimate behavior with the second son of the family. Historia tried to explain the situation, but her father was too mad to listen to her. The daughter of a king cheating with somebody else was unforgivable, and he ordered her to go to Julius and ask him to revoke the decision to cancel the betrothal. Historia was banned from entering the castle forever until the relationship had been repaired. While on her way to school, she was thinking about how different Julius was yesterday, and her heart suddenly started to beat faster. She tried to calm down and reminded herself that she was a straightforward person who was a part of the Gaias family. But because of her father, she had no choice but to make him drunk in love with her. Thanks to her good looks, she was confident that it would be easy to make him cling to her and purpose to her. She arrived at Julius's class, and the first thing she saw was Julius's servant Venom Zard's big breast. The boys in the class couldn't keep their eyes on her, and Elise was right next to Julius too. Historia was overshadowed by those two beautiful women. While they were eating the bentos Julius made today, Historia accepted her loss. The Venom Zard and Elise were fascinated by the sandwiches Julius made. Demon Lord told him that if he had mentioned how good his sandwiches were, she wouldn't have tried to fight him. Elise asked if she was really the Demon Lord, and she approved her by saying she could turn all the people there into a sea of blood in a few seconds. She was once a huge dragon after all. Plus, in that form, she couldn't have eaten that sandwich anyway. Elise then wondered who Julius really was, and he said he was him, no less and no more. Venom Zard asked if she was planning to investigate more, and she stated that whoever Julius maybe doesn't matter to her because he was an important friend to her. Since he didn't have any friends before, he was so happy that Elise considered him as her friend, and held her hands while thanking her. Their teacher came to the dining hall and asked if Mr. Carlyle was there. The principal requested his presence. Gaius stood up and told her that he was coming. just when he tried to insult his big brother that if the name Carlisle was in it, it had to be him. The teacher stated that it was the big brother that was being called. He got mad and scolded Julius for putting him in a shameful position, and he apologized to him even though it wasn't his fault that he was being too confident. While on their way to the principal's office, he asked the teacher if he had done something wrong, but the teacher didn't know the reason why he called for him. Walking in the hall made him feel weird and think that the academy felt like he had been there before for so long. He knocked on the door and asked for permission to come in. When they entered the room, the teacher got scared by the lizard. The principal asked if Peak was his interest, and he stated that he was thinking to himself what a cute lizard that was. The principal explained that it was called the green dragon, and it was known to be one of the rarest dragon specimens. He explained the features of the dragon and talked about how rare it was. Julius mentioned that those kinds of lizards ran around everywhere all the time, so it wasn't that rare. The president then introduced himself. His name was Izarez, and he was the principal of the academy. Julius asked if he had done something to be called into his office, and he wanted him to guess the reason. However, nothing came to his mind since he was trying to live as quietly and as earnestly as he could. Izarez showed him a piece of a machine that measured magic, and asked if he had broken one of the school's equipment into pieces. When he talked with the principal and came back, he told the girls that he was going to the academy's underground labyrinth on his own. It was an order from the principal. Apparently, he wanted to measure his power since he broke the power measuring machine. Elise asked if he even knew what kind of place the underground labyrinth was, and he was not. Gaius commented that he was as stupid and as ignorant as ever. He explained that a labyrinth that spreads throughout the underground of that academy was a cave where hundreds and thousands of magical beasts reside. It was sealed and prohibited to enter as no explorer came back alive, and it was a highly forbidden place. Going to that kind of place was the same as receiving a death sentence. Gaius advised him to go and kneel down on the ground to plead for forgiveness while he could, but he didn't seem to be bothered by any of the things he just said. After a while, he was standing right in front of the entrance of the academy's underground labyrinth. Even though Gaius clearly stated that he didn't care if something happened to him and he died, he took that as a way to care for his older brother. Venom Zard was next to him, transformed into a little fairy, and told him that even a man like him going to the underground to explore was a bit weird, and that person called Izarez was scheming something. He told her that she didn't have to come with him, but a demon would never leave her master alone. Julius's goal lay ahead at the innermost part of the maze, collecting the item. It was a quest after a long time of idleness, and he was getting excited. Seeing her master having fun made Venomzard happy as well. The first type of monster that he came across was goblins. They were all coming at once, but he didn't even need to do anything. For a group of low-level beasts, just by sensing his aura and motivation to kill, they got scared completely, causing their body to collapse altogether. He suddenly sensed an unpleasant premonition from that, and there was a 50-level headless knight standing right in front of him. The knight tried to cut his head, but the second it touched Julius's head, it split in half and the knight exploded. He continued to move, but the monsters were not able to cause any damage to him. He got so bored because he hadn't fought properly once. Venomzard explained that it was because he was too strong and she was gone that they were at a loss. He asked what she meant by that, and she explained. At first, the demons and the beasts used the Demon Lord's released power to further improve their own, and after she had perished, they kept on weakening for 200 years straight, and not only monsters and demons but also humans started to weaken. She then told him to turn left, and the staircase was there. He asked how she knew the way around there, and she explained that the academy was the Demon Lord's castle. For some reason, it renovated her castle and was now reusing it for their own purposes. Since it had been 200 years since she had perished, she had no longer understand what the humans were thinking. The labyrinth was like her playground, and it was thanks to her that he came all the way there without getting lost, so he could thank her a lot. They entered a room, and there was a pretty stone that was afloat. Since it was pretty, he decided to take it with him. When he touched the stone, something clicked and he realized that he might have done something wrong. Meanwhile, at the principal's office, he was being scolded by the teacher for letting a student go to the dangerous underground labyrinth. Izarez showed them the fragment of the machine that measures magic, and explained that it was supposed to be impossible for the people of that world to destroy that machine. But Julius somehow managed to destroy it. That must be some kind of mistake, or it could be some sort of malfunction, the teacher said. But he was wondering the real reason, which is why he sent him there, even though there was not a single person who returned safely from there. At that moment, a magic circle that has immense magical power opened in the principal's office, and Julius came out of it without a scratch. While he was wondering why there were old people in the room, they asked how he managed to appear out of nowhere. He explained that it was a basic transfer magic. They asked if he was talking about the spatial transfer magic from ancient times, which was known to be arcade, but he said he was too lazy to go back to the road he used to reach the end of the maze. That's why he used it. While they were discussing the magic he used, Izarez asked about the item at the end of the maze. Before he could say anything, they started to laugh at him for being empty-handed. A person like him retrieving the Philosopher's Stone was impossible. Julius didn't seem to understand the stone, and Venomzard explained that it was that thing. He took out the little stone that they got from that room. The stone had a tremendous amount of magic power, which proves that it was indeed that Philosopher's Stone. They asked how he was able to get the stone, since it should have been protected by the god of beasts. The protector was a three-headed god of the beast called Cerberus, and if it was there, he wouldn't have come unscathed. He explained that the scary three-headed dog they were talking about rolled over and showed him its belly. All they wanted was to be spoiled. They started to talk about the god of beasts as if it were his pet, but he started to sweat because there was only that dog and the stone. And after finding a suspicious wall, he broke it and found a secret room. They were in shock because the room's walls were made of the world's strongest mineral or calcum. He explained that he sliced it with a sword like usual. Inside the secret room there were lots of treasures, but there were lots, so he didn't really know which one to take. So he stored them inside a gate, a different space. They asked what he exactly meant by that, and he explained that different space was one of the types of the next dimension magic, and when used, he summons a different kind of space from the fourth dimension. Venomzard suggested he show it since explaining it was complicated. He opened the gate and showed the items. They were all amazed by the rare items. Since those kinds of items were everywhere 2,000 years ago, Julius wasn't surprised. He then met with Elise and told her what happened. She was surprised that he returned unharmed from the underground and also came back with the item unintentionally. On top of that, he was awarded the position of the Academy's scholarship student. He asked if that was something important, and Elise explained that all his fees were paid by them, and he was free from all classes and tests. A scholarship student was only chosen once a year, and they were super special, and only chosen from those who were on top. She had never heard of someone who was awarded the position in their midterm. Venomzard stated that her master was someone who was worthy of such treatment. She seemed like she was enjoying herself. Elise mentioned that Julius had really changed. Back then, he paid no attention to anything and always ignored those who talked to him. He knew that she was talking about Julius before the reincarnation. Venomzard explained that before he came to that world, his memories as a hero lacked to a certain degree, which caused his soul to wander in the void. It was most likely not in a completed state. Because of that, Julius was viewed as fatigued and lethargic by those around him. He wondered what kind of a person Julius was. He skipped 2,000 years, so there was no use thinking about it. Compared to the old world he was in, the world he was living right now was so peaceful. Everyone had a smile on their face, and nobody was holding a weapon as they talked. Elise told him that that place was no more special than others. This made him think about what had happened to the demons. Elise explained that the god of heroes already defeated them a long time ago, so they don't exist anymore. They learned that in history class. Suddenly, Gaius appeared in a very furious manner. He heard that Julius became the scholarship student he so desperately wanted to be. Julius explained that it wasn't his intention to become that, and he would give it to him if he wanted that bad. Gaius told him that he wouldn't forgive him anymore and took off the legendary sword that was supposed to be stored securely in museums, the sword of lightning speed Takemikazuchi. Elise interrupted him and warned him that he shouldn't bring a legendary sword and fight with his brother, but he wasn't listening to her. Gaius wanted to have a battle with him, and if he won, he would take the right to become a scholarship student. Julius mentioned that he was already willing to give him the rights he wanted, but he didn't want him to take him for a fool to such lengths, and started to attack him. Julius easily dodged Gaius's first strike, appearing to further frustrate him. Gaius explained that the sword had the power to move as fast as light, and urged Julius to try and catch him with his moves. However, what he didn't expect was Julius's ability to stop him with a single move and just one hand. Gaius was astonished that the sword didn't even budge in Julius's grip. It was as if Gaius wanted to remind himself that he was faster than light, and he exclaimed it with a shout. Julius explained that it was possible to pinch it once you train as fast as lightning. A chubby man appeared out of nowhere, yelling at Gaius for stealing one of their items at the museum. Gaius tried to explain that there was a good reason for that, but when the man saw Julius, the scholarship student, he was okay with it. Scholarship students have the right to take and use items freely outside of museums for the purpose of experimentation. If that was their purpose, then there was no problem. After the man left, Julius bragged about what happened, which made Gaius even more miserable. Meanwhile, Iserez was watching them in his office, and a bunch of students with evil smiles came into the room. He stated that the prophecy was true and they all turned into demons. It was time for the demons, who were once oppressed, to reveal themselves in front of the world again. In the next scene, Julius was at home and the maids informed him that the dinner was ready. When he entered the dining room, his parents praised Gaius with a big smile and called him the pride of the Carlyle family. They had started eating before he arrived and there wasn't even a chair for him to sit. Knowing that the reason for their family to act like that was partly his fault because he had lived idly for 15 years of his life, it was time for him to pull himself together, so he asked them what were they talking about. His father asked what was he doing there, and he explained that since they were a family, it was normal for them to sit together and enjoy their meal while chatting. The father stated that someone like him would never be his child and continued to praise Gaius for becoming a scholarship student. Gaius explained that the scholarship student wasn't him. His father swore that he heard the news about a child from the Carlyle family who became a scholarship student. Even a letter arrived. Julius interrupted them and stated that the scholarship student was him. His parents didn't believe him because of his grades, and his mom doubted that he didn't even know the meaning of the scholarship student. They opened the letter and it was all true. Julius was indeed the scholarship student, which means Gaius was inferior to Julius. Hearing this fact made Gaius frustrated and he immediately left the room. In his room, Gaius was thinking about how his big brother became someone much more talented and powerful person a few days ago. Ever since he was born, he was aloof, silent, and lethargic. Those around him title him as a good-for-nothing. Their parents realized that quickly and gave up on him and put so much pressure on Gaius to become much more powerful. He was the one who would bear his weight on the back as the son of the Duke's family. But the younger him didn't dislike his big brother at all. He wanted to become someone special to order everyone to not make fun of Julius. Julius played with him when he was younger and cheered him up when he cried because of his hard training, and even slept next to him during lonely nights. But one day during winter when he was 5, they were heading to a villa situated as a family. Even their escort had said that no monsters would appear, which is why all of them had let their guards down. It was at that moment when they faced the attack of a bear-like monster. Everyone but them got killed and he was ready to die, but Julius somehow managed to kill the monster with one move and looked at him as if he came straight out of the fairy tales that he adored. The next thing he knew, people had started saying that he was the one who defeated the monster and Julius had returned to his good-for-nothing state. He was the only one who knew his true identity. While wondering why he was acting like that all of a sudden, his door knocked and it was Julius bringing him a meal that he called special. Gaius told him to stop doing pointless things and stop bothering him, but he stated that it was because he was his little brother. Gaius was confused by his actions. He leaned over the door and told him that he deceived all of them by pretending to be powerless and weak, which is why he hated him so much. Julius took a deep breath and informed him that he was leaving his meal there and he should eat it before it got cold. He left the hall and Gaius opened the food he made him and started to eat it while sobbing. Julius was listening to Gaius by the corridor's edge. Venomzard told him that his brother was crying and asked if he had put something strange in the omelet. However, Julius thought he would tell him about everything that had happened one day. For now, his goal was to slowly strengthen the bonds within their newfound family. After a while, Julius and Venomzard were in a carriage heading to the kingdom's castle. He was chosen to attend as the representative of the Carlyle household. While they were going, he sensed something that was being attacked about 6 kilometers away. Venomzard used her evil eye of 1,000-mile skill, and he was right. She found it amazing that he was able to sense the murderous intent from such a great distance away. It was truly admirable. She then asked what he was planning to do. After explaining his plan, he appeared from the sky, landed in the middle of everyone, and informed everyone that he would spare all of them if they returned home obediently. Even though they were scared, one of them tried to kill him, but before he could do something, his dagger split in half. Julius explained that he needed to snap the dagger just in case. The man couldn't understand how he survived because he poisoned the tip of the dagger. He explained that whenever he went outside, he always activated a magic barrier that could deflect all sorts of abnormalities. One of them called 30 people and was sure that even he couldn't stand a chance against 30 people. However, Julius used skill shadow clone magic, and suddenly there were more than 30 of him. He knocked everyone out and explained that it was magic that was carried out by channeling all of one's aura to create a clone while sustaining their original body. The ability to defend himself from poison and create clone magic made them wonder what kind of a creature he was. They then called someone named Teacher, and a big man with a muscle appeared, wondering how dozens of men couldn't kill a single kid. Julius sensed something in his aura and asked if he was part of the demon bloodline. The man was surprised that he noticed it. Julius told him that if he let such kind of magic power ooze out of him all the time, everyone would notice. The man transformed into a monster with big horns and 3 eyes, and informed him that the ones who had seen him in that form never got to return home. Demons were a kind of species that fed off of negativity and were hostile towards humans due to their destructive nature and fondness for slaughter. Their overwhelming power brought terror upon the people during the Age of Darkness. However, after the victory against the Demon Lord by hero Eugene, their outrageous power quickly deployed, and currently, they have been forgotten and assumed to have vanished. Or they want to think like that. The demon the man transformed was part of the demon family called Strong-Armed Khan. Julius, despite hearing that the demon's lineage had dwindled, couldn't help but wonder how they still existed. Venomzard explained that she had lost track of recent developments, but it seemed that demons still persisted. Venomzard then turned to Gorilla and inquired if there were any other demons besides him. Julius pointed out that there was no point in asking such a question to a lowly demon like him. One of the men urged Julius to run and hide, but he calmly stated that this was just a simple gorilla, and there was nothing to fear. The gorilla swung his fist and attempted to deliver a fatal blow, but Julius effortlessly halted the devastating punch with a single hand. He called him boring for plunging his fist into him without assimilating any magic power into it. He would hardly call that an attack and found it too dull. The people around them were stunned. Stopping a fist that was strong enough to break bedrock with just one hand was impossible. Gorilla asked him what did he to stop him, and he explained that he used the armor of magical power. An expert would always equip armor that is filled with magic power. If he can't even see it even after much concentration, he won't be able to lay a scratch on him, let alone hurt him. Gorilla didn't believe something like that was exist, and he overlooked him with pity since it was the basics of combat. Venomzard mentioned that she struggled a lot with his armor during their fight 2,000 years ago, but she was the only one who could break it. Gorilla made another attack without holding anything back and started to punch him over and over again. With that much force, he was sure that his armor was useless, and he would be as flat as a board, but he was standing without any scratch. He wanted to return his fist with a fist, and it was his turn. Julius used his magic cultivation skill, and after a huge explosion, there was nothing left of the gorilla demon. Venomzard accepted that he was an easy opponent, and Julius was right. The man who was hiding behind a tree screamed, calling him a monster, but he didn't take it personally and thought it was one of its friends. Julius captured the bandits who attacked the carriage inside a cage and placed a barrier around the carriage just in case, but he still wondered if they were all right, so he asked. A woman with ears came out of the carriage and told him to not come any closer, or she wouldn't hesitate to slice through him. He thought there was a freak again, but the woman told him that she was talking about him and called him her enemy. He explained that he was there to save her, but she didn't believe him. That amount of aura and magic power that was overflowing excessively, and the technique that destroyed the demons with ease wasn't normal. And it was the work of a monster, she said. Julius got shy and humbled, but she said she wasn't praising him. She was sure that he was planning on killing them as well when they were vulnerable. She made the stance of Eid, which surprised him. She then used the secret sword technique, instant unsheathed sword technique, and attacked him from the top and the bottom at the same time. But he wasn't bothered at all and split the sword in half. A princess came out of the carriage and called him an interesting gentleman. The cat-eared woman informed her that Julius was a dangerous person and she shouldn't leave the carriage. The princess found him quite strong since he dueled against the most skilled people in her country, as if it were child's play, and asked him to become her husband. Julius was surprised and couldn't say anything, and Harutora, the cat-eared woman, started to scold him. Princess Sakura said that it was all right, and as the princess of her country, she thanked him. Harutora apologized for being unable to defeat bandits even though she was appointed as the escort for her highness. Princess Sakura forgave her and mentioned that they should be thanking the gentleman who saved them. Julius explained that it wasn't a big deal, but that made him look more interesting to the princess. They then began to make their way towards the similar supper held in the kingdom. Princess Sakura inquired about his name and he introduced himself. They were both taken aback when they discovered he was the Carlyle family's oldest son. When the party began, Historia was furious when she saw that Julius was enjoying his dessert in perfect health, even though she had said that the bandits could easily kill him. Historia began to brainstorm what to do behind the wall because it seemed like her plan to have Julius killed and leave the engagement in uncertainty had been cancelled. She decided that she must not let Julius meet her father, knowing she would face his anger. While she was plotting to poison his drink and make plans to kill him, Julius suddenly appeared behind her and asked why she was hiding despite it being her party. Historia evaded his question and asked why he still looked well despite the attack on the way here. Julius explained that his own carriage wasn't attacked. It was another carriage that was targeted, and he had saved everyone himself. Historia couldn't believe that he had fought with 30 people simultaneously, and was shocked when she learned that he had defeated all her guards one by one. Historia, sulking and sinking to the ground, regretted wasting her 6 months' allowance on useless bandits. Julius asked how she knew exactly there were 30 bandits, and Historia said something about her innocence, but it sounded like something only real villains would say. At that moment, Princess Sakura approached them and commented on how helpless 8th Princess Historia appeared. Princess Sakura mentioned that she had investigated Historia's plan to have Julius killed and the bandits she had hired. Confused, Julius wondered what she was talking about. Princess Sakura had obtained certain evidence because the situation seemed highly suspicious to her. The cat-eared woman accompanying her interrogated one of the captured bandits and learned that 8th Princess Historia had hired them for money. Historia defended herself by saying they can't trust a lowly bandit, but since Julius called the engagement off, it was reasonable to say she did it out of resentment. Before she could say anything, she was in the middle of him and her father. She wondered if her father would believe she was innocent, but he gave her his answer by slapping her in the face. Her father was furious and asked the guards to put her inside a cage instantly. She sobbed and begged him to not put her inside a cage, but he wasn't listening. When she was 7 years old, his father engaged him to Julius. Ever since she was young, she didn't mind political marriages as she felt like it was her responsibility as an aristocrat's daughter. But Julius turned out to be the worst suitor alive. No matter what she said to him, he was always aloof. And even at school, he was the worst of the worst. She felt disappointed for giving her all to a suitor who didn't even try. But someday Julius changed and called the engagement off. She was screaming that everything was Julius's fault and she wasn't in the wrong, but her father got angrier and was about to hit her again. Before he slapped her, Julius held him and told him that a parent should never hit their own child. The father was surprised because she was the one who tried to kill him. He stated that he was fine and they didn't even manage to come close to him. When her father asked about the time she was being disrespectful to him, he said he would take that as if it never happened. After trying to kill him twice and cheating on him with his brother, she couldn't believe he was okay with pretending like it never happened. At that moment, she fell in love with him. Now that Julius had forgiven Historia, her father offered to redo the engagement. But Princess Sakura intervened, saying that it was too easy for him. One of the reasons the king wanted the engagement to happen was because the Carlisle family was one of the most important families in the country, and without the marriage the kingdom could be at risk of collapsing. In the midst of this, Princess Sakura with confidence hugged Julius, stating that he would become her husband. Julius was surprised that the princess was insisting on that issue. Sakura explained that since he didn't have any attachments to that country, he would have loved her country, which was really far in the east. The food was good, and the view was beautiful, and she was sure he would like her country instantly. Julius did have an interest in the Far East and started to consider the offer, but the king was absolutely against it. Princess Sakura reminded the king that his daughter tried to kill him, but he said that it was his daughter's fault, and the country itself had nothing to do with that. She stated that he was making no sense by saying the princess's actions have nothing to do with the country. When the argument continued, the people were concerned about the issue becoming international. Whatever Julius says might start a war between the two countries. Julius informed them that he had no intentions of getting engaged to Historia again, but he had just met Princess Sakura, so he had no intentions of going out with her as well, but they could start out as friends. He took both princes and the king's hands and made them shake hands while telling them to get along well with each other. Everyone was excited about their country. Gatania and the Far East country was about to join hands. Julius asked about Sakura's opinions. She was fine with it since it was the country Julius grew up with, and the king started to think that if they accepted it, they could form a good relationship with the country in the Far East, and there weren't any cons. The king thanked Julius for that amazing proposal, and they became allies with one another. The people were also excited about this alliance because it meant they could now trade various goods with the Far East countries. Julius felt proud of himself as he managed to top that one off. While the hero, Julius, discovered new ways for the two countries to trade, something else was happening in the magical forest. The gorilla he blew wasn't dead and was boiling with the fire of revenge. The principal Iserez appeared, and the gorilla asked him to give some of his mana to get his revenge on Julius. Iserez found his state very pitiful, and started to explain to him in a way that even someone with a smaller brain could understand. The person he fought was the god of heroes, Eugene. He had vanished into thin air 2,000 years ago, but he had recently returned. He wasn't someone that an ape could stand a chance against. On top of that, the Demon King's power that had long been gone was embedded into his new vessel, which means he was holding the power of the strongest beings alive in history. And because he used up a certain amount of mana during the fight between them, the principal was able to trigger the birth of some demons in the world. The real reason behind sending him to the princess was completed, and he had successfully fulfilled his duty. After Iserez exploded Mr. Kong, he expressed gratitude and promised that his sacrifice wouldn't go to waste. Thanks to him, demons and the devil would spawn individually in their respective locations. Even now, he could feel that the gates of hell were finally opening. Meanwhile, Julius was getting fed by Historia. There was a clear competition for Julius between Princess Sakura and Princess Historia. Venomzard asked if he was married in his previous life, and he explained that he didn't have time for that because he was too busy to defeat her. The term platonic love seemed very interesting to Venomzard. The night continued with the princesses arguing over Julius. 10 days later, a group of bishops was trying hard to keep the seal, which Iselez had opened, from getting broken. The main bishop said that if the seal got broken, nobody would have a chance against that thing. The power of the 224th St. Mary had run out, and she told the main bishop that she couldn't handle it anymore. Her father, the main bishop, begged her to hold on because she was the only one who wielded the power of Seifert, which was that of the 4 saints. If she passed out, the seal would crumble completely. The other bishops informed him that St. Mary had already gone beyond her limits, and she had been constantly using her sacred powers for 3 days without sleep. Mary tried to convince them that she was fine, but she couldn't even finish her sentence and collapsed. The seal broke, and the devil named one pillar who made the whole world cower in fear, the god of destruction, the wicked god Gun Deathblood, was awakened. The bishops were stunned by the tremendous power it held, and they were getting shivers all over their body. The monster was glad that he was finally awakened after being deep in slumber for 2,000 years. Even his laugh's impact was enough to make them struggle to stand. As the opening act for his revival, he would like to start with destroying that planet. Everyone lost their hope, but Mary wasn't done with the demon yet. As a saint, she stood up against the demon and was confident that she would seal him right back where he came from. However, the demon didn't even feel a single ounce of power coming from her. It seemed that over the course of 1,000 years, humans had gotten much weaker. Mary used one of the highest sacred powers, Holy Light Photon, but it was pointless. He grabbed Mary to finish her off, but her father told him to let go of her and use their most powerful spell of all. Before he could do it, the demon stabbed him. Mary, who witnessed her father's brutal situation, began to scream and cry when the demon told her she would soon reunite with her father. As he was about to use her first meal to celebrate his return, Julius suddenly appeared on his shoulder and addressed him. Julius, who not only surprised the bishops but also the demon by his presence, pointed out that he shouldn't be so rough on the girls. The demon asked him who he was and when he had climbed onto his shoulder. Julius explained that he had sensed a demon's aura around here and believed he had to defeat it, which was why he had come. Mary told him that a regular citizen shouldn't be here and mentioned that this demon was a terror to the entire world 2,000 years ago. The bishops, shocked that Julius didn't seem scared or particularly interested, wondered how he could comfortably sit on the demon's back without being affected by the demon's aura, as they themselves struggled even to stand where they were. Julius asked him to have himself obediently resealed even though he just revived. He was none other than the true mighty Gun Deathblood, and a mere human like him bossing him around made him mad, and he made an attack to kill him. The bishops, who had thought they were dead due to the massive devastation around them, were left in astonishment when they realized they were inside a high-level barrier. The demon couldn't speak when he saw Julius holding Mary safely. Mary thanked Julius for saving her. The demon asked Julius once again who he was, and Julius simply replied that he was a reincarnated student passing by. He sent him a tiny holy light photon from the tip of his finger. Despite its small size, it caused a massive explosion and magic that led to the demon's disappearance, leaving Mary and the other bishops in shock. Noticing there was an injured person, Julius used his healing power to completely restore Mary's father to his former self. While Mary was hugging her father, he asked where the demon was, and the bishops informed him about what happened. He asked who defeated him and how he managed, but Julius greeted them and disappeared since the problem was solved. He didn't even mention his name, so no one had any idea of who he was. Mary didn't know anything either, but she was sure that he was the one who arrived as a reply to people's suffering, the one whom God had sent in order to prevent Earth's destruction. Julius went back to the cinema theater place where Elise and Venomzard were waiting for him. He apologized and explained that he had some urgent matters to attend to. She continued to scold him for leaving in the middle of the movie. He asked what happened in the rest of the movie, and she explained that the final boss turned out to be the protagonist's father. The demon lord was looking at him and giggling. When he asked what was wrong, she explained that she was impressed because he took a break from the movie to defeat a demon. Julius was surprised that she was watching all that, but she mentioned that he and she were connected at all times. Elise was confused, and Venomzard said her master headed off to defeat a demon. Elise thought they were joking because for her, demons were long defeated by heroes. She took them to somewhere that was popular with its burgers, and they seemed to like it. When they both sounded like they were people who came from the past, Julius got the courage to confess that he was a hero who reincarnated as a student, but as expected, she didn't believe him. Making someone reincarnate way later into the years was a fine magic passed down by Venomzard's ancestors. Only a crazy person would take such things seriously. Elise mentioned that she likes time-slip stories where knights who fought in wars time travel through the years. When he asked what was it, she explained that it was about stories based on skipping through time, and it was used a lot in manga and anime. Julius stated that he lacked some knowledge of those kinds of things, and it was even his first time watching a movie too. He was a bit surprised that people could watch moving images on a big screen. Venomzard mentioned that she read a lot of shoujo manga. They thanked Elise for inviting them to the movies today. Elise remembered that today was supposed to be a movie date with Julius, but since Venomzard also came along, she totally forgot about it. The atmosphere didn't seem like they were on a date, and she got all gloomy. When she was about to make another offer to do something, Princess Sakura appeared and greeted him in a flirty manner. Apparently she came there to do some shopping with Harutora, and thought of getting some food on the way. She asked if she could sit next to him, and he approved. He asked what was her look about, and she explained that she would be attending Julius's academy as an exchange student. As she couldn't leave Sakura alone, Harutora was also wearing their uniform. Elise felt threatened by all the girls who seemed to be girlfriend materials around Julius. While they were talking, Julius wished Gaius to come there as well, but apparently there was a tournament coming up and he was practicing for it. Around that time every year, their school held a martial arts tournament where students go against each other. A lot of people outside the academy come to watch the finale as well, and it affects their life after graduation. So every student takes it very seriously. It seemed quite exaggerated to Sakura. Julius mentioned that Gaius was the type of person who takes things very seriously. Even today, he was training with a lot of determination in their backyard. He was sure that Gaius would get strong in no time. In the next scene, Harutora and Sakura are introduced to the class as the students who have transferred to their school. The boys got so hyped up by their beauty, and Julius was happy to be in the same class with her too. But there was one person who wasn't comfortable with them, and it was Historia. She wanted Sakura to get out of the class, but she paid a good amount of money just to be by Julius's side. While the girls were around Julius, someone from the back of the class was watching them. The teacher came and started to explain what was going to happen in the annual martial arts tournament. Weapons, magic, and familiars could all be used in these fights, and students would be fighting one by one. For the actual participants, 2 representatives would be selected from each class. Therefore, 12 representatives from each high school grade would proceed to the final round, which means there were a total of 6 grades in high school. From their class, 2 of their top students have already been selected as the representatives. It was Julius and Gaius. They will both be representing their class in the tournament. The girls were rooting for Julius. Suddenly, a classmate of Julius named Zakoshi Showood made an objection and stated that Julius wasn't good enough to be a representative and it was unfair for the class since only the best of the best got selected. The class backed him up and complained about Julius being favored too much. The teacher tried to explain that he was a scholarship student whose talent was even recognized by the principal, but they claimed that it was his family's business. Mao commented about how they couldn't even differentiate between the strong and the weak. Julius mentioned that they had only seen him in battle once and it was during the salamander incident. He turned to Zakoshi and told him that he could just decline the offer. After all, he wasn't that interested in the tournament anyway. They were surprised by his words. Gaius objected to him and told him that he was only participating in order to win against him. Seeing his brother's ambition, he told the teacher that he would be participating in the tournament. Zakoshi was still against that decision. Sakura came up with an idea to save them. The idea was to attack him together while he was tied up in a chair. Elise found it too much to fight against 30 people. He was overwhelmingly outnumbered and there was no way this would end well. Sakura then explained that Julius was forbidden from using any kind of magic, weapons, or familiars. He would be fighting from where he was. Julius seemed fine with every rule she made and this made the boys even more angry. They started to attack him, but for some reason their swings were not landing. Princess Sakura warned him about moving at lightning speed and he wasn't supposed to move at all. They then sent him fireballs and ice lances, but he blew all of them with a single breath. Then a 21-level beastman appeared and his claws were strong enough to pierce through even the toughest metals. Unfortunately, when he tried to cut his head, his claws were broken. Harutora appeared and attacked him with her sword since she was also interested in becoming a representative for the tournament. Julius turned to her and blew a little of his breath and it was enough to rip off all her clothes. When they were all defeated, Zakochi came and used his trump card. A cursed mana-strengthening magic spell that was sealed deep within the ring he was wearing. The other students were worried that he could even kill himself with that much power, but for him, it wasn't important if he died. The important thing was to defeat Julius. The golem of flames came out from the ring and he was about to burn him, but Julius formed a crack on the ground with a single stomp and the golem was gone. And with that, Julius was sure that no one had any more complaints. Gaius called for Julius and commented that it looked to him as if he had still not shown them what he was fully capable of. He warned him to not hold anything back because he would be the one who defeated him. At night, Julius and Mao were playing chess on the balcony. It seemed to her that Julius had been happy all afternoon. She wondered the reason behind that and he explained that his little brother had been so cute lately. Despite not making his efforts obvious, he had been working his butt off when nobody was looking, just so that he could catch up to him. He was the type of guy who would try over and over again in order to achieve something. He has never had a sibling before, so this made him happy. Julius thanked Mao for fulfilling his wish before he died. While they were on the topic of his previous life, he asked why she had done all that for him. She explained that near the end of their fierce battle, the bond was born at that moment. She mentioned that it was a similar feeling he had for his brother. Maybe it was what people called love, she said. Julius got distracted with the words she said, so she made a move that made her win the game. At least she thought she won because apparently Julius still got one move that made her lose the game. And that was his 100th win in a row. While she was complaining about the game, Julius mumbled that he liked her too and was really grateful as well. The day of the tournament came and there was a huge crowd. Elise and the other girls looked at the participants list and since Julius wasn't seeded, he had to play 4 matches until he could win. Historia was worried if he would be able to win and called him her darling, and Elise reminded her that she cheated on him with his younger brother whom she cut ties completely. Mao realized that Julius and Gaius would be fighting each other in the final, and she found the participants' arrangement very interesting. Meanwhile, in the participants' room, Julius was sleeping like he had nothing to be stressed about. Since he didn't look like he was about to wake up anytime soon, Gaius tried to wake him up and informed him that the tournament would start any minute now. He said in a sleepy voice that the Demon Lord kept him all night with her. Gaius was in shock that he could say something like that without shame. He gave up and let him sleep since he would get disqualified. Someone knocked on the door and explained that he thought he would come and give a little greeting to them. The guy had a giant body. He wouldn't thought Julius would be sleeping so peacefully. He then claimed that Julius cheated his way through the qualifiers. Gaius looked very pissed but decided to inform him that he wasn't permitted to be there. The big guy opened the potion he was holding and drank it. He then broke the potion bottle into pieces in a second and told him to not get so cocky against him. The girls were starting to be concerned about him since he hadn't shown up. The Demon Lord was getting curious as well, so she used split body magic to go check on him. When she entered his room, she saw the big guy holding Julius and yelling at him for not waking up from his sleep. Gaius was telling the guy to let him go, but he was so angry. He was about to throw his fist at Julius, but Gaius shouted at him saying that he was disappointed in his big brother for letting a guy like that defeat him before fighting with him in the tournament, which made him wake up from his sleep wide as hell and punch the guy. He gained consciousness and realized that Gaius and the Demon Lord were there. He then noticed the guy from the ceiling and stated that he didn't remember that weird decoration being there. The tournament started and a dark-skinned elf apologized for making everyone wait. She was the Academy's idol May and was their commentator for tonight. Without further ado, she called for the 12 contestants selected from each school year. The first contestant was the one known as the Prince of Smiles, third-year magic swordsman Nelson Harvard. The second one was the fourth-year troubadour Lester Doramifaboom. What he played on his magic instrument was the Melody of Death. The third one was a Tiger Beastman who was proud of his boxing skills, the sixth-year fighter Nezuka Tiger. She continued to introduce the contestants one by one, and the next one was Gaius, the hopeful rookie who was making his first appearance in the arena. Next was Julius, and she introduced him as Gaius's older brother, and didn't even bother to say his name. Lastly, the contestant everybody had their eyes on. The one is known as the peerless and powerful Human Bullet Runway Express, famed as the rebirth of the divine hero and winner of the last year's tournament, the fifth-year Lodorg. Unfortunately, Lodorg didn't show up. A few minutes later, the idol May informed that the contestant Lodorg was passed out in the waiting room and would have to retire from the tournament. They looked up to the tournament screen and Julius won the first round by default. The Demon Lord figured that it was probably the guy Julius knocked out, and with the 11 elites in the place, the martial arts tournament began. The principal was watching the tournament from his room. The guy behind him asked if that kind of person was really suited to become the Lord of the Demons. Isolus didn't want to repeat himself and told him that he was the one they had been waiting for. The others didn't want to serve under a brat like Julius, but the principal reminded them that Kong used to say the same things as they did, but they seemed to forget how the tables turned on him. Suddenly, Iseles noticed a man with a huge amount of evil mana. The man appeared and stated that Isolus was pretty good at sensing him. The others were stunned by his bottomless, sinister aura that instantly filled the room. They felt like he was gripping their heart, and the pressure he made was far above what demons could exude. The principal Isolus greeted him as the demon god Draconi, and all the people in the room were speechless. They immediately kneeled for him. He was the highest rank of demons who were eliminated 2,000 years ago. Demon god Draconi told them to raise their heads. He pointed at Julius and asked if he was the one who took down Gundusblad. The others were surprised that the evil god had already been defeated. He explained that it was just after he woke up and was probably still half asleep. Among the demon gods, he was the weakest, so he did not have an ounce of pity for him. He also sees him as a disgrace to demon gods. However, for a demon god to be taken down by a single kid was not something easy, which was why he came here, because he heard such outlandish rumors. One of the guys told him that he should leave that kid to them and shouldn't have to worry. Isalus agreed with the guy, saying that his strength was already on par with that god of the gods. No matter how many of him there were, they still wouldn't be able to win against him. This sentence made Draconi snap. He smiled and told Isalus that he was good at firing him up. The reason he came was to kill Julius, and he told them to stay there and watch, and if they interfered, he would kill them too. They tried to object that they were in the middle of their school tournament, and he told them to not worry about that since he wouldn't do anything boorish. Before he left, he stated that he would just gift the winner of that tournament with a wonderful present from theirs. Isolus thought he was a pretty simple guy despite being a demon god. At best, he would serve as fodder for their new demon lord. The second match started, but Julius was having lunch since he didn't have to fight in the first round. After the 12 elites fought their way through the preliminaries, a knockout tournament began. While Julius was walking, someone threw a rotten egg at him and accused him of cheating. When they saw it was a kid who threw it, Elise asked if he knew him, but Julius had never seen him before. The kid told him that he only won because he lured his brother Heroic into some sort of dastardly trap. Nelson appeared and warned the kid that he couldn't just accuse someone without proof. He said his brother was taken out before he even got a chance to fight, so there was definitely something going on. Elise figured that the little kid was talking about the big guy Julius knocked out. Nelson tried to calm the kid down and stated that even though his brother was one of the finest students, Julius was also someone excellent enough to be chosen as a scholarship student, so he doubted he would do anything so underhanded. However, he was interested in seeing his power, so he took out his sword and asked him to have a short spar with him. Nelson felt countless swords entering his entire body. He realized that it was not an illusion but Julius's aura, and drew his sword back. When the little boy could not understand why he lowered his sword, he told him that he had lost. After reintroducing himself, he shook Julius's hand, telling him that he would normally be his opponent in the second round, but that he would be withdrawing due to their fight ending before it even started. Julius, who won the second round without a fight, was astonished. Meanwhile, his brother Gaius was in a fierce battle with a student named Takemichi. Even though he forced himself, Gaius won the fight, and it was Julius's turn again. Julius, who was happy to finally be able to fight, was facing a student named Lester in the semi-finals. While the girls were cheering for him, his brother watched him carefully. Julius stated that after seeing his little brother trying to win, he needed to show his good side. Lester took his electric guitar out of its case and belittled Julius, calling him the failed son of his family. Julius ignored what he said and asked if he was really going to fight with an instrument. Stating that the instrument he is holding is not normal, Lester said that the guitar is a weapon that strengthens his own mana. The match started and Lester made his first move without delay. He used his power of manipulating sound waves to directly damage Julius's eardrum. While everyone in the hall was impressed by the sound, Julius seemed to be in a very good condition. Questioning whether he was affected by sound waves, Lester was shocked by Julius, who explained that even if he went swimming, nothing would happen to his ears. He said that attacking using instruments was interesting and that he wanted to try it too. Lester said he didn't have an instrument, but Julius planned to attack using his voice. Julius, who damaged everyone's ears after he started singing, destroyed Lester with his singing. Thus, the winner was Julius again. Instead of cheering for him, the audience was criticizing his singing ability. After the match was over, Julius went to Gaius and said that if he was hurt, he could heal and strengthen him as his older brother. Stating that he did not want to be indebted to his older brother and that if he owed him money it would not be a serious match, Gaius went to the field for his next match. In front of him was a wolf named Nezuka. Venomzard asked Julius if he noticed the large amount of presents surrounding the stadium. Julius was aware that the person wasn't trying to hide their existence and said it was fine as long as they didn't affect the tournament. Just by looking at it, he was sure that that stray demon god was no problem. Gaius won the game easily, and after so many fierce battles, only 2 remained. The final match would be a showdown between brothers. Before they started fighting, Gaius told him to surrender if he didn't want to suffer humiliation in front of all the people. Julius was happy that his little brother was worried for him under those circumstances, which made him mad. Venomzard noticed that the audience seemed quite partial to the younger brother. Julius informed Gaius that he wouldn't hold back just because it was him, and that was what Gaius planning on. Gaius then took out 2 swords and got ready. Julius didn't know he could use 2 swords at once, and he explained that he cut down on sleep just to learn it, all for the purpose of defeating him today. His words made him even more excited for the fight. The march started, and Gaius made his attack in a second. No one even was able to understand what just happened. The Demon Lord commented on Gaius's skills, and Elise wondered how she could see what actually happened. She explained that Gaius closed the distance between them rapidly. Julius responded by immediately crafting a sword with creation magic, and then after blocking all of his attacks, Julius saw the opportunity to counterattack. That was when Gaius succeeded in using parry. Gaius asked his opinions and stated that he stole that technique by watching him use it before. Julius was proud of him for being able to do it even if he only saw him using it once. Gaius told him that he didn't do that to make him proud, he did it to beat him up and made another attack. His attacks were certainly faster, but they were still too simple. Julius was completely unfazed by Gaius's combo. When he told him to stop acting like a good old brother, Julius kicked him on his face and he was down in 1 hit. When Julius heard some audience insulting his brother, he stared at them and they started making strange noises and collapsed. The Demon Lord was surprised by that move because Julius getting mad at people for someone else was a rare thing to happen. Gaius stood up and reminded him that it wasn't the time when he should be worrying about others while his opponent was right there. Seeing him standing like that even after he took his kick was really impressive. Gaius explained that it was because in that short instant he condensed his mana into an armor around him. If he hadn't, his head would have gone flying. With the dedication he had, Gaius started to create a big storm in the stadium and made his attack on Julius. Even in a situation like that, he smiled proudly and counted to 3 before he negated the storm in a second. The whole crowd was confused, including his brother. He explained that he matched the power of his slash to perfectly cancel out the attack. It was a technique called action cancel. The important part was determining where the force field was concentrated. Gaius was frustrated by his defeat. Even though he used his full power, it didn't affect Julius. Julius reached out his hand to him and said that was not important. It would have been truly regretful if he had given up now. He stated that he would be ready for a rematch any time and smiled. Gaius was dedicated to training much more for next time and surpassing him. After Gaius's admission of defeat, the winner was Julius. Before anyone could do anything, the demon god made his appearance in the stadium. Gaius asked him who he was and what was he doing interrupting the tournament like that. The demon god smiled and introduced himself. The whole crowd was in shock because there was no way the ancient enemy of humanity that the hero god eliminated was back. Gaius didn't believe him, as the demons and demonkind were supposed to have gone extinct long ago. However, the demon god wouldn't gain from telling such a lie, and he knew he could feel the overwhelming pressure of the strength that stands before him. People started to lose their balance and the air started to get colder. Gaius couldn't stand straight in front of the demon god and felt like he would fall unconscious if he lost his focus for even a moment. That was the intimidating aura of a true demon. Other students interrupted and told him that if he was trying to interrupt their tournament, he would have to go through them first. Dracone gathered a flame at his fingertips and burst them into flames. Gaius thought it was the lost extreme magic of Ancient's Nova Strike, but it was a plain old fireball. They couldn't believe that a single fireball could wipe out 2 semi-finalists. Dracone explained that the strength of a spell was dependent on the caster's concentration of magic. This goes to show the difference in strength between demons and humans. Dracone told them that it was too late to be scared now. The countdown until the annihilation of mankind had already started ticking. While people were freaking out, Dracone noticed that the 2 students he blew up were standing fine. They were also confused because the last thing they remembered was being engulfed in the fire. And then all their wounds had been completely healed. Julius stepped up and told them that he was the one who healed them. He also mentioned Dracone that he really pissed him off. They hadn't even gotten to the closing ceremony and yet he barged in just like that. The martial arts tournament wasn't over until he was back home. Dracone was impressed by his healing skills. A mere human shouldn't be capable of performing such a spell, so he must have been pulled some sort of trick. Dracone was pretty sure that he wouldn't be able to run away from him, but he didn't understand why would he run, especially from a nobody like him. He also told him that he would turn the other cheek if he left quietly right now. Dracone couldn't believe that he was daring to insult the strongest member of the demon race. However, Julius informed him that he wasn't much different from when he fought Gunbla the other day. Hearing Julius putting him on the same level as Gundasblad, Dracone got so mad and turned into his real form. Now that he transformed, not even he could control his power. Julius found his introduction too long and punched him. A bright explosion happened and he defeated him with one punch. Gaius asked if it was okay to beat him up like that when he wasn't even finished talking. Julius explained that he couldn't be bothered to wait any longer, so he figured he could just defeat him straight away. The principal appeared and congratulated Julius. Winning the tournament's championship and repelling the demonic threat on top of that was nothing he wouldn't expect from the pride and joy of their academy. The people were also surprised that he was able to defeat the demon like that, and they started to root for him. One of the principal's assistants wondered if the murder of the demon was all right. The principal was comfortable. That poses no changes to his plans because there is only one person who shall grace their throne. After the tournament ended, Julius and his friends were in the academy's private pool. They were quite happy to have a day off. Ever since he defeated that demon at the tournament, the other students have had a sudden change of heart, and now they fan over him every day. It seemed that the Demon Lord's master had risen in popularity overnight. She was glad that the common folk had finally realized his glory. Julius didn't consider that as a good thing, since everyone kept on treating him like some sort of rare beast now. When the Demon Lord mentioned the love letters he had gotten from the girls, Elise and Sakura felt triggered. Historia informed him that she went ahead and burned all that mail for him. Julius seemed down and had something that was on his mind. He felt like he got closer to his brother during the tournament. That seemed to be a good thing to her, but Julius explained that when he went to see his parents, they had already made him their favorite son, and had given up on Gaius, which made him sad. He wished he hadn't stood out so much and regretted his action. The Demon Lord found it hilarious that the strongest hero in all of history was sitting there worrying over some family drama. She asked him if he would rather sit idly by while the demon made a mess of the place. That would have been so bad, he thought. She then asked if he wished to hide his powers and live a secluded life instead, and that wasn't what he wanted either. Then it was a good thing that everyone found out the good-for-nothing brother was actually the strongest hero in history. The hero Eugene from 2,000 years ago was certainly a strong man, however. He had become numb to everything. Having shed most of his humanity, it was as if he was nothing but a tool of war was a pity. But now, he had his parents and brother. He was surrounded by friends and family. She wanted him to live his life to its fullest without all the confusion and suffering. She mentioned with a blushed face that the way he was right now was lovely. He thanked her for comforting him. He felt like he understood what his grandfather actually meant when he told him to find out what it was that he wanted to do with his life. He decided that he would live proudly as the strongest hero and live his life as he pleased. In the next scene, Gaius and Julius are practicing in the backyard. Gaius was trying to do the magic focus, but he couldn't seem to maintain the level of it. Julius mentioned that sages were able to maintain that state of concentration for hours on end during battle. It seemed impossible to Gaius, but for Julius, magic focus was the most basic when it comes to combat. Julius started to tease Gaius and told him to come at him from any angle he wanted. Gaius noticed that even though his posture was so lax, he didn't have a single opening, so it was best to attack him in front. It seemed that he learned how to use magic to accelerate his speed even without wielding the sword of swiftness. In that case, he decided to test his swordsmanship. Gaius was able to infuse magic into his strike, and Julius was impressed by him. Saying that it was only the beginning, he made another attack, but Julius got serious and used the holy sword technique. He explained that it was a technique that deflected an opponent's sword by using a stream of flowing water. While Gaius was complaining about replicating him, their father came in and applauded Julius for training so early in the morning. His father started to praise Julius while insulting Gaius. When he called Gaius a useless piece of trash, Julius had enough and stepped up and defended his brother. He said that he was a failure of a father and threw him in the little garden pool with his one finger. His father couldn't believe he could treat him that way. He responded by saying he should act more like a father to be treated right. Gaius started to walk away and he asked where he was going. Stating that he was going to get ready for school, Gaius also thanked him for sticking up for him back there. In the school, Julius seemed to be in a good mood while walking with Mao and Elise. Mao explained that he was in high spirits because he gained favorability from a cutie that morning. Julius told Mao to not get jealous, and she stated that she had no interest in stealing from another woman. Listening to them fighting over a girl, Elise was frustrated that Julius was raising his flag for someone else, and her spot as the heroine was stolen away. She had no clue that her rival was his brother. Suddenly, he heard someone's voice calling for help and looked outside. Guys who were bullying him before were scolding another student. Before they could do anything, he approached them and said that extortion was bad. Julius touched the guy with a needle, and it looked like he was electrocuted. He couldn't understand why he wasn't able to move his body. Julius explained that he pierced one of his acupoints with a magic needle. The guys remembered him that he was the one who won the martial arts tournament and defeated that demon like it was nothing. They got scared and ran away, leaving their friend behind. The guy didn't care who Julius was and told him that someone named Asuka was backing them up. Apparently, he was part of one of the great noble houses of the country. While he was talking about Asuka, Julius and the girls were already leaving. At the dining hall, the boy they saved introduced himself. He was Selka Kohan, a second year in junior high school. He was sorry that he had to see him in such an embarrassing state earlier. Although that school houses plenty of nobility, there was still a lot of bullying going on. Delinquents like that who act as if they own the place were a big problem. Selka offered him to join the disciplinary committee. He was planning to practice with his brother after school, but Selka stated that it would be really reassuring if they had a cool, strong person like him in their ranks. When he was about to reject his offer, Nelson appeared and found that a very good idea. He thanked Julius for saving him and informed him that the committee would really appreciate having someone like him, but he declined his offer. Nelson didn't insist on that offer and took out a rose from his pocket. He explained that he was asked to deliver that to him, and it was a rule that if someone receives that rose from an adversary, it means that they had been challenged to a duel, and the challenge cannot be refused. Additionally, whoever loses the duel must follow the entire school and obey their every order until they graduate. The person who challenged him was no other person than Asuka Pendragon. His 3 subordinates came crying to him, so he was wondering what sort of tough guy could have done them like that. But it was actually the unwanted child of the Carlyle family. Julius realized that they were the same rank of nobility and they should get along, but Asuka thought he was joking because the Pendragon family had an honorable lineage of the finest mages, so they were in a different league compared to his family. Julius then accepted the challenge, and Asuka was preparing to use his special magic that has been passed down in their family. The magic he used was called gravity. The magic was supposed to squish him until he blew up, but he didn't seem to feel anything. Asuka couldn't believe how he could manage to survive, and he explained that it was an anti-magic field that acted as a barrier to neutralize all of the opponent's magic attacks. He mentioned that it became a habit of him to keep it active even if he was sleeping. Gaius appeared and explained that Julius had that barrier deployed so magic attacks wouldn't work on him, and if he didn't even know that it seemed like the Pendragon family's quality had declined over the years. Being insulted by both brothers, Anka got even more frustrated and tried to use gravity again, but it didn't work at all. Julius explained that when he was hit with a magic attack, something called a chain anti-magic field, activated on its own and inside the field's range. If he was attacked a second time by a low-level spell of the same element, it would automatically disable the spell, which means he wouldn't be able to use gravity on him anymore. He took out the holy sword that passed down through the generations and stated that he would slice them both. Gaius told Julius that he would handle him with a wooden sword. He made his attack and Gaius used his Raka Ryosuken magic. Seeing him deflect the holy sword's strike with just a wooden one amazed everyone. Julius tried to hug Gaius because he was proud of him. Meanwhile, two guys were watching them and were happy to find the strongest hero's only weakness. The rumor of Julius defeating the demon who appeared at the martial arts tournament quickly reached the ears of the demons who lurk in the shadows, and as a result, the demons have split into two factions. One of the factions desires to conquer the surface world and make Julius the king of the demons. Meanwhile, the other faction wishes to oppose Julius while avoiding direct confrontation with him. Both factions realize that in order to stand a chance against him, they wouldn't be able to get by using straightforward methods. Understanding that, a demon planned his attack under the cover of darkness. He was watching their mansion and was ready to attack. He then walked towards the main door and went inside the garden like it was nothing. The demon came in front of Gaius's room without anyone noticing. Even though he was the lowest ranked demon, his shadow skill gave him the ability to hide his form and mute his movements. Just when he was about to give him a deadly attack, Gaius woke up and saved himself, but his arm was injured. He asked who he was and how did he get in his room. The demon was surprised that he dodged his move, but even a little scratch was enough for him to get poisoned. Gaius fell on the ground and it was hard for him to move. The demon explained that it wasn't anything fatal, but a weakling like him wouldn't be able to stand on 2 feet. Gaius was pissed and held his wooden sword and attacked him with all his power, making them fall into the backyard. The demon transformed into his real form and explained that he was the weakest member among the demons, and since he couldn't even beat someone like him was proof that he was lower than a weakling. After the demon's countless attacks, Gaius was on the floor, not being able to move. The demon noticed that he was crying and started to make fun of him. At that moment, Julius appeared. He was holding the head of the demon with a furious face. Julius knew that he was the one he was there for, but he wouldn't let him away after hurting his little brother. Before he killed the demon, he tried to explain that if he killed him, something terrible would happen, but he didn't listen to him. Julius then healed Gaius and asked if he was all right. Gaius felt ashamed to lose to a demon like that, but Julius comforted him by saying he had only just recently started training with him, so it was okay. While he was comforting him, an enormous meteor fell down from the sky, but before they could harm them, Julius used his time stop spell and froze the time. Gaius was still worried that as soon as the time resumed, that meteorite crashed into the ground and the entire region would be obliterated. Julius told him to not worry about it and to leave it to him. He used time to reverse and made the meteor go back to where it was. Even though he rewinded time by a few minutes, all he did was delay it, so it was still going to crash into them. However, now that he can see it coming, he would smash that thing to bits. Mao appeared and explained that even if he managed to destroy it with his fists, the scattered fragments would fall to the ground and cause unprecedented damage to the surroundings. And that was where she came in. She formed to serve his bidding and became a sword to rend everything asunder. Julius and the Demon Lord's sword were ready to finish that off. When the meteor was approaching, his magic aura turned to black and Gaius was in shock since he had never seen something like that before. With the Ultima Sword's skill, he vanished the meteor without a trace. Gaius was speechless. Even though he did something incredible now, Julius was still the same. A few days passed and Julius was teaching Gaius to slice a rock in two with using his wooden blade. When he managed to slice it, Julius confessed that he swapped it with a mineral that was 10 times harder than stone. While Gaius was scolding him for doing that, Mao was watching them from the balcony with a smile. When they were at school having lunch, Sakura wondered who made that delicious-looking bento for him, and he explained that he woke up early and made it all himself. After they tasted his bento, they were amazed by his cooking skills. Gaius approached them and gave the empty lunchbox to Julius while asking why he put bell peppers in it, even though he knew he hated them. He responded that he wouldn't grow strong like him if he kept being so picky. When he asked how it tasted, Gaius told him that it was really delicious and thanked him for the meal. After he left them in the dining hall, Gaius was walking to get to the class and a creepy-looking guy approached him. Before he could say anything, the guy showed his one eye and ordered him to sleep. Gaius fell down on the ground and immediately slept. The demon named Goku tied him, put him in a sack, and brought him into the forest. He opened the sack and all that was left was to brainwash him with his magic eye and turn him into his puppet. But before he could control it, Gaius woke up and told him that this technique would not work for him. Judging by his appearance, he realized that it was another demon that was after his brother. While Goku was still thinking about how his magic eye didn't work on him, Gaius explained that he was also protected against mental attacks thanks to the magic armor. He asked where a child like him learned such advanced magic. It was all thanks to his Spartan brother's grueling training. That was totally different from what he was told. A golden energy was surrounding his body, but unlike his brother, Goku heard that he was an incompetent good-for-nothing. He decided to smash him to a pulp using all his strength. Gaius found a piece of wood on the floor and picked it up. Goku couldn't believe he was seriously going to fight with him with a wooden stick and started to attack him. Gaius knew if he concentrated his aura, he could even win with a stick. He couldn't do much back then, but thanks to his brother's training, he was able to stand up to them. He cut his arms, and while he was suffering, he thought defeating someone like him wouldn't allow him to catch up to his brother, so he decided to end him quickly. Goku told him to not get too cocky, and made 30 clones of him to fight alongside his original body. Suddenly, Julius appeared with baseball clothes and asked what Gaius was doing there. Gaius asked what was with the uniform, and he explained that he was just playing baseball with the gang. Goku thought he was there to save his brother and defeat a demon. He was surprised that he was a demon and didn't care what he was. Julius was about to head back to play baseball, and Goku couldn't believe he was leaving his brother alone with a demon like him just to play a little ball game. Since Goku underestimated the baseball game, he asked if he would like to play with him. He accepted, and when Julius threw the ball, it created a huge explosion, and there was no trace of Goku was left. After being done with him, he asked if Gaius would like to play catch as well, and he rejected him. The rumor of Demon Goku's death reached the principal, and other demons were getting concerned about it. They were starting to get concerned about it since he killed an archdemon in one punch. Their plans to use his brother as bait continued to backfire. And they also mentioned that his little brother was also improving at a remarkable rate. Even though they were demons, no one could know what would happen to them. The principal said that she also said they would be next. The demons didn't understand what he meant by she, and then a little girl appeared in the room. When they wondered who the girl was and how long she had been there, he introduced her as an honored guest from the heavens. After failing at every turn in their attempts to kidnap Gaius, an angel attacked and imprisoned him. By using her powerful shackling spell, Gaius wasn't even able to lift a finger. The demon woman was named Alpha, and she was on a different level than those low-ranked demons he had faced before. Suddenly, Gaius stood up and broke the chains he was tied up easily. He got that demons were targeting his brother for some reason, but kidnapping him at every opportunity they got was really annoying. She was still questioning how he managed to break out of his shackling spell. He explained that he was constantly using the mana conversation breathing technique that his brother taught him. Gaius asked her what she was hoping to accomplish by kidnapping him. She suddenly turned to him and explained that her skills allow her to imitate someone's voice and appearance, and she was planning to approach his brother like that to convince him to lend his power to the demons. Knowing his brother, he might actually listen to him if he said that. Gaius asked if she really thought he would let her get away with that, and she stated that before she took his place, she was going to kill him. As soon as he breathed in the poison mist she had concocted, its fast-acting toxins would send him to the afterlife in no time. However, Gaius seemed quite healthy for a person who had just been poisoned. He explained that his brother cast a death curse on him daily for a so-called antidote spell training. Compared to that stuff was just smoke from a bonfire. He also stated that she was the most boring demon he faced with. Suddenly, Julius's voice was heard. Wondering why there was so much smoke in his cave, Julius entered and asked why Gaius was there. Gaius asked him what he was doing here and what he meant by my cave. He explained that the cave was a do-it-yourself dungeon that he made with magic for his little brother's training. Alpha realized that it was her own fault he was there. Julius noticed that there were two Gaias there, and she took the chance and told him that he was the real one and the other one transformed itself to look like him. Julius, of course, didn't buy it at all. Gaius asked how he knew she was the fake one. Julius didn't need any special skills to tell that he was his little brother. Alpha turned into her real form and claimed that they would be no match for her if she had used her full power against them from the start. When Julius was preparing to punch her, Gaius told him to leave that one to him. All his training would be meaningless if he was always being protected by him. Julius at least wanted to do something, and he created a sword for him to use. Julius stepped aside and let him fight. He started by using his aura to attack her, but she had the ability to harden her skin. After making a few more attacks, Gaius was in her hands. She asked Julius if he was sure about sitting there and letting his brother die like that, and he told her to go ahead. Julius told her that she was the one who was underestimating him and that his little brother was capable of protecting himself. Suddenly, a black light appeared and Alpha's arms were cut off by Gaius. She couldn't understand how he was able to cut her arm through her hardened skin, and what was the black aura that coming out from him. He explained that when he compressed a colossal amount of magic, it glows black. Julius was watching him with a proud smile, and he made his last attack, Ultima Sword, to defeat Alpha. They high-fived and left the cage. Gaius was concerned about the increase in the demon's activities. Julius told him to ignore them as they were like a mosquito in the summer. However, Gaius had an idea. The demons targeting them were actually hiding within the school, and they were wearing their uniform. He had a hunch that there was someone in the academy pulling the strings behind the scenes. so he thought it would be good to go talk to the headmaster Issels about that. Julius was fine with leaving things as it is since it wasn't like there had been any real harm done, but Gaius was sick of being kidnapped by the demon, so he wanted him to put himself in his shoes. While they were arguing, Elise and Mao appeared. Apparently Mao told her that they were making an interesting athletic course in the suburbs, so she came to check it out. Julius explained that he made it for Gaius's lessons, so there were traps and monsters in there. That sounded fun to Elise and she still wanted to see it. Julius agreed to give it a shot and Gaius seemed jealous. While they were talking, something blew the bridge they were walking and they fell. Gaius wondered what was that and he explained that it was Heavenly Spear, a type of magic that surpassed extreme magic. This means that thing was from the battle between the hero god and the demon lord 2,000 years ago. Julius approved him. It was indeed an angel, and she was there to erase his existence. They wondered why would she be attacking them. Elise found her very cute, but Gaius got mad at her for being so careless. There was nothing cute about her at all, although she looked like that. He could tell she had a terribly ominous aura with just a glance. He wondered if they could even hope to defeat an opponent like that. Seeing his brother being able to comprehend his enemy's strength was proof that he had grown. This time, their enemy was an angel, and it was too much for him to handle. Gaius understood the situation, and even though it was frustrating, he agreed to stay in his place. First things first, Julius offered to talk that out and told her that they would forgive her for her surprise attack from earlier. The angel mumbled some words and used her Heavenly Spear skill to kill him again. Julius used his parry to send back the attack she made. While Gaius and Elise were surprised, Mao warned him that it would land in the town if he weren't careful. The angel kept sending her magic, but he was playing with them like a baseball. The angel then took off the heavenly sword, and Mao explained that a super laser sword would instantly melt anything that it comes in contact with, and a sword like that wouldn't be easily dodged. However, as expected of her master, he was able to catch it with his bare hands. He didn't stop with just holding the sword, he also broke it in half and threw it into the river. The next attack was an indiscriminate attack. Mao and Julius used their wide expansion and heat cover wall to protect the entire town. When they were focused on that area, Elise got hurt, but Gaius guarded her. She thanked him, and Gaius explained that when he thought that Julius would do the same, his body moved on its own. Then, Julius appeared behind the angel and told her that the children who get into too much mischief need thorough punishment, and used his prison circle to lock her. With that technique, she wouldn't be able to move anymore, but it looked like it was cracking. She had more determination than Julius thought. The lock broke and a giant monster came out of it. Its arm turned into a cannon and they were all feeling a tremendous power. Mao asked if she should land a hand, but Julius was planning to take one-on-one. He put magic in his right hand and the aura in his left hand and created a Magisol fusion. The monster used the heavenly halberd. They told him to dodge it or he would die, but he used the ultimate cannon and defeated it. She had quite a bit of backbone, he said, and others were just focusing on the huge hole he created in the sky. Julius bragged about his ultimate cannon skill and told Gaius that he would get to the point where he could use it as well. Gaius told him to stop talking like it was so easy and promised him to try his best to catch up to him someday. Seeing his confident face even after witnessing all that, Mao was about to fall in love with him. A short while before the battle against the angel, Historia was getting a drug that would get anyone deported just for having it in their possession. If Julius were to take a sniff of that after she applied it to her hair, he would immediately fall in love with her. While she was daydreaming, she fell and broke the potion. She started to cry about her potion and a bunch of huge goblins appeared in the forest. Due to the resurrection of the hero and the demon lord, the monster's movement seemed to have grown more active. The goblins were under the effects of the charm potion and they were already in love with Historia. Meanwhile, Julius and Gaius were subjugating goblins in their cave as today's training. Gaius thought goblins were just trash mobs and weren't sure about training with them. Julius informed him that his scan detected about 1,000 of them in there and they were not going to go back home until he annihilated them all. Mao also mentioned that he shouldn't let his guard down, because gobbling may be weak in small numbers, but they were no joke if they attacked him as a group. Julius asked what was with the outfit and she said it was a bikini armor. He warned her to not get in the way of his little brother's training. When they entered the cage, Gaius couldn't see anything because it was too dark, but they would swarm them if they used any light. If it was a big problem for him, Julius decided to light up the whole cage. It looked like they were trying to attack them from behind. There were quite a lot of them, but since it was Gaius's training, he wouldn't help him at all. Gaius tried to take care of the goblins one by one, but they were so fast, so he used a wind cutter and defeated them. However, Julius told him that being forced to use a large-scale spell against small fries was wrong and that he should be able to blast those guys apart with a single glare. They continued to move in the cage and Gaius was barely managing to survive from the traps. Finally, they were on the floor that didn't have any traps, but there were so many goblins to fight. While Gaius was dealing with the goblins, Mao asked if he could at least cast heal on him, but his little brother would never lose heart from something like that. Gaius defeated all the goblins on that floor. They were then moved to the next floor and came across Historia being chained. She thought Julius came there to save her. Meanwhile, they got no idea why she was there. Mao stated that it looked like the goblins abducted her and stole her innocence, but she was still a pure maiden. The boss of the goblins came and asked if they came to interfere with their sacred ritual. Historia didn't know about the ritual and was concerned about her future. The goblin explained that he would start by pulling out her intestines and offer her flesh and blood to the one they worship, the one who ruled that world in the age of myth thousands of years ago, to the great almighty evil dragon, the Lord Venomzard. Venomzard got embarrassed a little to see that even after being destroyed 2,000 years ago, she hasn't been abandoned. She thought the goblin seemed pretty cute now that she knew he was one of her worshippers. The goblin told her to not mess with him and called him ugly. Venomzard got so angry and started to transform into her real form. Julius told her to calm down or it would be bad news if she got serious in a cramped place like that. Mao was not listening to him and blew him off without a doubt. Her attack created a huge hole in the cage and Julius took off with Gaias and Historia. He scolded Mao to bring the goblins back, but there was a more important thing that he should be worrying about. Mao started to cry about the goblin's words and hugged Gaius. Julius wondered why the goblin was affected by charm, and Historia confessed that she used a love potion. Julius realized that she used the same thing with his brother to make him in love with her. Gaius remembered that he fell in love with her right after she made him eat a cookie. While Gaius was scolding Historia, the underground magma erupted and created a whole mess because of Mao. After that, the hero Julius worked his ass off and fixed it. In the next scene, the principal Isilus was informed that the hero and his brother defeated even an angel. They were too dangerous for the demons anymore. But the principal reacted very calmly, asking if they had already taken the necessary measures. Worried, they said they would have to defend themselves if this continued. He started releasing something on the floor and said that he didn't need any more weaklings. They panicked and tried to convince him that this wasn't what they meant, but they were all dead within seconds. The principal said that arrogance was over. It was time for him to go there himself. Meanwhile, Elise asked Julius if they could go out to eat sweets in the next block. He said he had practice with his brother after that so that he couldn't go. Next time, Sakura said she had made a reservation at a nice restaurant for an early dinner and asked him to join her. He refused her too, saying he had plans with his brother that day. The girls were so mad that he was always lugging around his brother and it was too much. They had asked him out so many times and he kept turning them down. Meanwhile, Historia was drinking her tea comfortably. She said that they cannot go on a date with the one they really love in any way. But they both screamed at her that she was the one with no feelings and she should have given him up a long time ago. Mao told them to calm down because Julius finds his life's purpose in raising his younger brother. She didn't think he would easily change his mind if they tried to push his brother to the sidelines. They asked what they should do then, and she said all they had to do was get on the same field as his brother. The girls didn't think about this. They went to the training hall and asked Julius to train together. He asked if they were sure and they said they wanted to become stronger. Julius asked Gaius what they should do and he said he had nothing to do with this. Since it was okay with Gaius, he was fine with it too. The girls were so happy that they could finally spend some time with Julius. But their happiness didn't last long because they were exhausted. Julius asked if they were tired already and Gaius said it was too much to ask them to do the same thing as him from the first day. He agreed because Gaius was more prepared from the beginning. His brother was much stronger than they thought. These exercises were impossible. In comparison, Harutora looked like a real robot. She said it was the least she could do before breakfast, and she could do a lot more exercises. As she started complimenting him, the girls were so jealous. They told her that the iron circle had a sharp edge. Mao told him to stop sneak tricks because that was the ironclad rule of this club. If any of them become special together with Julius, the balance would be broken, and the club would be destroyed. They started arguing, and Julius wondered what the matter was. He had worked hard to establish this club, but if they couldn't stick to this kind of training, everyone but Harutora would leave. They said they were going to get on with it. With this, girls who were crazy about Julius, who didn't want to be stronger but were so stubborn in dealing with each other, worked feverishly with hellish exertion, and since then, an unusual friendship developed between them. In the next scene, the girls were in a hotel deep in the mountains. They had been running for 6 hours, so they were pretty tired. Harutora met a lot of different demons along the way. However, the fact that princesses could get this special training was an amazing development. They had all grown up in the past few days. She agreed, saying that if he had stayed away, Julius would have fallen out of love with her. And Alita said she had been feeling much better since Julius opened her national chi. Harutora said they could all have the talent to do anything, but Alita wasn't trying to achieve something special. But they wondered when Gaius had become so strong. He seemed to be far ahead of them. Harutora commented that their physical and magical abilities were amazing, and besides, Gaius was growing day by day and she couldn't believe he was still in his formative stages. Suddenly, Historia started climbing onto the wall to take a peek at the boys. The girls were all embarrassed and told her that this was too shameless. In the next scene, a huge black sun appeared in the sky and confused everyone. The principal brought magic beetles. As insectoid monsters with a height of around 60 inches and a weight of 660 pounds, they possess a jet black outer shell sturdier than steel and just love human flesh too much. He said that it might be hard to believe, but he had currently deployed up to 5,000 of them. Julius congratulated him on being a successful dad. He giggled and said he had plenty of reasons to raise them in secret, and thanks to that in about 10 minutes or so every single student in this academy would turn into a fresh new meal for them. Julius asked where he was taking him now that he had taken the students hostage. The principal responded that he had his sincerest gratitude for accompanying him down here. They had reached their destination, and a big gate appeared. He assumed this place brought back a lot of memories for Julius. Inside the place, the throne of the Demon Lord was standing. Julius was shocked. The prince said this academy had been rebuilt and adjusted from the remains of the former Demon Lord's castle, but only his throne remained, as it had been all those years ago. He bet she would be happy to see her old place still intact. The prince said the Demon Lord was nothing more than a relic of the past, and all he was interested in was him, and only him. After all, he was the only one worthy of sitting on this throne. He called him Eugene, his past name, and said he was the Demon Lord. He asked how he felt about this current world. He said that his grandfather, the hero Alan, failed to defeat the Demon Lord and was ostracized by human society. He heard he passed away all by himself, full of regrets. Someone whose power was on a whole other plane than everyone else. He must understand what kind of existence he was in their eyes. Julius figured he was saying he was a threat to them because he was too strong and that he was supposed to be the great evil since he had got strength like the former Demon Lord. He confirmed and told him that it was only demons who really truly understood him. He asked for his answer, and Julius suggested guessing what he was thinking right now. The principal was puzzled, but he said he must be in inner turmoil, unsure if he could abandon his duty as a brave. But Julius interrupted him in mid-sentence and told him that he was way off the road. He said that Gramps was just way too diligent for his own sake. He carried everyone's burden until it eventually bound his hands and feet so that he couldn't move anymore. Although he wasn't all that much better before he got reincarnated. However, he said he didn't have any regrets when he died. Julius was going to live his life doing what he wanted, and becoming the Demon Lord was not part of that. So he didn't even need to think about it for even a moment. The principal found him foolish and asked if he was really fine with that as his answer. Julius asked what he meant, and he said with a single signal of his, the 5,000 magic beetles waiting above the academy would devour every single student present at this moment. Julius just told him to go ahead. Shocked, he asked if he was going to let all those students die in front of his eyes. He said he never said that, he just didn't have any reason to help out. The principal was so angry and told him never to come back crying to him. While the students were trapped, they prayed that someone would save them. Right before the monsters attacked them, Gaias started slashing them. The students were so grateful to him, but he didn't have time to chat. He hasn't encountered any casualties so far, but there were too many of those monsters around and he had to protect all the other students. Back when they were together, Julius told them that the one controlling all the demons was most likely none other than the principal. They were all shocked. He said that if he was right on the money, he was going to throw an all-out attack on them soon enough. But he said there was no reason to panic. They couldn't listen to his words because this was shocking news to them. Julius was fairly certain that his goal was him. He bet he was going to use the students as hostages and tie him down. Historia panicked that she was going to be attacked. Alita asked what they should do then. He said that they would be fine without him because he had plenty of people who could protect this academy. When they asked who they were, he said it was them. Just as he said, Gaius, Alita, Sakura, Historia, and Harutora were all doing their best to protect the academy while he was underground. Harutora found the magic beetles astonishing. They were regarded as S-level monsters, yet they managed to defeat them with such ease. She would never have thought their fan club would bring such value to it. The principal was crying like a toddler. He couldn't believe his 5,000 magic beetles were defeated in an instant. He thought there were only worthless dropouts in this academy. Julius told him that this was a place for students to improve, yet he was going to make light of the growth his students had shown. He was one hell of a failure as a teacher. He was quivering all by himself. Julius asked who he took him for and if he really thought that he would become the Demon Lord just because he asked. The principal said he knew Julius wanted to protect the peace and citizens of this world, or some utter nonsense like that. But Julius said it wasn't like that at all. He mentioned what happened just the other day. He was looking for Gaius, hoping to talk about tomorrow's special training, but he didn't seem to be in his room. He wondered where he was in the middle of the night. While looking out of the window, he saw Gaius looking for him too. He used teleportation magic and startled him again. He told him to stop popping out of nowhere with his teleportation magic. Julius responded that he was the one who was calling him, but Gaius said he wasn't. A dog started running at Gaius and jumped on him. Gaius was calling the dog Brother too. Gaius was worried since Brother, the dog, wasn't around for dinner. While shaking out of excitement, Julius wanted to ask if his name was Brother because of him, but Gaius immediately refused. Julius didn't care and claimed that he loved him so much that he gave his beloved pet the same nickname. Gaius stated that there was an actual reason for this. They picked him up when they were young, but he only reacted to the name brother whenever he was called for him. And eventually he just started assuming his name was brother, so he stopped reacting to anything else. Thanks to that, he had to call his brother too. Julius wanted to pet his brother, but he bit his hand. Julius did not react and said he had guts. He was about to show him who the real brother was, but Gaius told him to stop, and they started fighting over who the real brother was. And that was what happened. The principal was shocked because he didn't understand what he meant. He thought he should try to argue about world peace and the safety of the people. He said he was just telling him about how cute his younger brother was, fighting to protect the world and its people, sacrificing himself for the greater good, and all that big talk was a story of the past. What's the most important to him was his younger brother. His adorable brother lives in this world, so he has to protect it from weirdos like him. That's why he would never join their side. The principal started laughing at him because it was a ludicrous reason. He said he was going to be the one to destroy him in this very world while playing with his ring. With that ring, he summoned the goddess governing order Hora and said they had reached the climax. Around the same time, the demon lord was having a glorious sleep after playing games all night. As the confrontation between Julius and the principal continued to heat up, something else happened in the basketball club. Mao was playing a board game with the students and she was winning. As the black-haired one made one move, she immediately won. They claimed that she cheated because her hand was stacked to the brim. She told them not to get their feathers ruffled. They could hear the voices of the discarded titles. They lost all their money, so she said that for her next one she was betting everything she had on her. They seemed convinced to play one more game and said they were not done. However, Gaius came and threw the table over, crashing into the board game. Mao asked why he would do that, but he started scolding her for playing mahjong in such an emergency. The others were confused too because they thought they were just playing games. Gaius told them that there was an army of bugs attacking the academy. He said that thousands of magic beetles stormed the academy a few moments ago, and he had been trying to keep them at bay. Even now, Elise and the others were out looking for any stragglers. Mao told him to let Julius handle it, but his brother was nowhere to be found. Now that he mentioned it, she couldn't feel his presence. He said he might have been locked away somewhere by the principal, but Mao was confused as to why he would let that happen to him. He told Mao that they had to look for him and she was helping him. She said it sounded like a pain and he could protect himself. But now that she thought about it, there was an extremely sturdy barrier located at the bottom of this academy, and if he was down there, that would explain why she couldn't feel his presence. That sounded incredibly suspicious, and he was sure that was where he was. Mao bet he had got everything handled, and she had got his game to finish. However, Gaius grabbed her from her shirt and started dragging her. Mao tried to explain to him that even if they rushed over right now, they would only slow him down, and he would finish off that weirdo with one punch like always. Gaius told her that they were talking about the principal, and even if he would get in the way, he was going to save him. She could say what she wanted, but he said that he was his one and only brother. Mao now confirmed that both of them were just crazy for each other. Naturally, the demon lord's real body was still sound asleep in her room. Meanwhile, the principal asked Julius about his thoughts. He said that this was the result of his research, his blood, sweat, and tears that he had invested for many years. This was as forbidden as it got when it came to rituals, for he had summoned the goddess herself. But Julius didn't seem so impressed. He asked if he was telling him to fight this goddess. The principal was sure he wouldn't be able to win though, because the goddess would simply act as fodder. Also that he would be able to reach his peak. The goddess disappeared, and the principal transformed into a real demon. Julius asked if he fused with the goddess. He responded that this was not a fusion by any means. He had control over the goddess. Hence he was what he would call a god. Gaius and Mao were coming to help Julius while she explained to Gaius that she could feel the divine ki overflowing even outside the barrier. She would assume the principal had managed to summon a god through some twisted means. This meant the final boss was going to be a god. Gaius couldn't believe his brother had to defeat a god now. She asked if he remembered when that little kiddo angel attacked them. If he did manage to control an angel like her, he might have obtained a power that would put him on par with that of a god. Not only that, but that nail was only mass-produced too. Gaius was shocked because she was so strong. She said that he could probably summon several of them at once. As she guessed, the principal summoned 10 angels who used different weapons. He said that these weapons wielded by the angels all belong to the gods themselves. He may call them the divine weapons, and those 10 angels would now be testing his might. That was a real bother for Julius. He laughed at Julius and said Eve the Great Brave shudders at the sight of his foes. Met with such an overwhelming difference in strength, not even he could hide the despair and bewilderment that flowed through his body. Julius corrected him that he just didn't know how to feel about beating up some random kids. He couldn't say he felt up for that right now. The principal found him confident despite the dire situation he found himself in. He asked if he thought he could win. Julius showed him his 5 fingers and said he was going to end this in 5 seconds. The principal snapped and ordered the angels to attack him at once. Meanwhile, Gaius and Mao arrived at the gate. She didn't think this copy of hers would be able to break through this mighty barrier. Gaius told her to step aside and swung his sword. Just as he said, it took Julius 5 seconds to defeat all the angels. He even asked if that was 5 seconds, but the principal said he didn't count the time for him. The principal was shocked that he defeated those angels wielding the divine weapons all with his bare hands. He said he must be his opponent after all, and if not, they would get nowhere. Julius stated that he was fine with not continuing this nonsense. He called him a fool for not knowing that no matter how overwhelmingly strong he could be, he was still a god. And a god could only be killed by another god. Hence, as he was but a regular human, he could not hope to kill him. That was the law of this world. Gaius and Mao finally broke the barrier and went inside. Julius said he was just busy fighting the boss here. Gaius was shocked that he wasn't worried at all. And he was even more shocked when he saw that the monster was the principal. He could feel the overwhelming pressure and was about to pass out if he let down his guard for just a moment. Julius explained that he fused with a goddess and became a god or something like that. Gaius asked how the hell he could be so calm about this, and he said it wasn't a big deal. The principal then asked if his brother didn't know who he really was. He then told Gaius that his precious older brother was actually hiding something from him. Gaius was confused. The principal told him that his older brother Julius was actually the reincarnated brave Eugene, and he returned to this world 2,000 years after defeating the demon lord. Julius was now mad. He turned to look at Gaius, and Gaius asked if that was true. Julius panicked and didn't know what to do. There was no way he could talk his way out of it, and lying to his brother was something he could never do, so he said it was true. He said he was Eugene Brave. He apologized for hiding this from him. But Gaius's reaction was so normal, and he said it made sense. He asked if that was all he was hiding from him. Julius said he seemed rather composed and asked if he wasn't shocked to hear such an outrageous truth. Gaius responded that reincarnation or not, he was still born into the Karail family, and that explained why he suddenly became this much stronger. He was really taking things in stride, and Julius wondered if he wasn't at least a bit surprised. He said it didn't matter because whether he was a monster or the brave, he wouldn't suddenly stop being his brother. He asked if he couldn't just stop being hung up on whoever he was in his past life and focus on living here in the present as Julius. Mao told the principal that his plan to throw him off using his brother failed miserably. He was in fact surprised, but he said only a god could kill another god, and his defeat was all but impossible. Gaius told him that his brother was going to win. He asked Julius if that wasn't right, and Julius said it wasn't his first time duking it out with a god. He knew all too well how to take down a god, and since Gaius was watching, he might as well show off a bit. He activated his power and spirit armor expansion. The principal was shocked because only a god could emit such sheer force. Mao said that by surrounding his whole body with his spirit armor, he could even emit divine kit. Thanks to that, he had reached a divine state despite being a regular human. Julius asked how many seconds he was going to last. With that, the principal had made the strongest hero get serious. Julius's spirit armor was a super technique that allowed a human to become a god. Having merged with 9,999 spirits, Julius had now become an existence equal to a god. However, if he fought with all his might, their surroundings wouldn't hold up. But he knew that. He left the building after asking the principal if he could keep up. Gaius was shocked because he thought he flew to the sky to fight, but Mao corrected him that it was the space he flew in. The principal asked if they could fight with full strength without worrying about their surroundings. When he confirmed him, he told Julius that no matter how equal to a god he may be, he too was a god now. There was no reason for him to lose. Julius asked if he really thought they were equal. He told him not to make him laugh. The principal got ready for an attack, and Julius told him to come at him without holding back. As he rushed for an attack, Julius dodged him and hit him back. He used time stop and threw him with full force. The principal summoned lots of monsters, but Julius had the biggest sword to kill them. He destroyed them all before he could summon the angels from the ceiling crystals. He decided to go all out. The sky was glowing as they fought. Lots of explosions were happening, and it looked like fireworks. Machu told Gaius not to make that face. Because Julius was the reincarnated strongest hero, the word defeat didn't exist for him. The principal was almost dead. Julius wondered if it was already over. The principal never imagined the gap between them was this large. He was supposed to have stopped time first and asked why he was able to move. He said he had an anti-magic barrier set to automatically deploy and nullify the effect if someone stopped time. With the power of the goddess Hora that the principal absorbed, he could turn back time, so he should always be able to reduce the damage to zero, and yet his wounds weren't healing. He asked what in the world his weapon was. It was the Divine Prison King tool, God-slaying heavenly light sword. It was the ultimate weapon, possessing the two attributes of destruction and creation. Its golden wave condenses the sun's energy into a blade that could destroy anything. Before this word, the regenerative power of a goddess was meaningless. The principal was sure that he was going to perish soon. This was the first time he had ever used all his strength. There was nothing left in this world for him to fear. About 2,000 years ago, he was a single demon born in the demon world. His origins were unknown, but he possessed great innate power. He didn't get along with the other demons, so he fought every day. He wandered continuously, searching for a place to belong. Demons, demi-humans, monsters, humans. He spent his days drenching them all in blood. If he got serious, he could even conquer the world for himself. All beings were fragile, however he couldn't find any interest in conquering the world, because he knew what his hands would grasp at the end of that path: loneliness. After realizing that, he went into hiding, created this academy and thought he would live quietly. However, one day he heard the prophecy of the destroyer. After rummaging through the documents, researching and contemplating, he was able to meet Julius. And so he schemed to prop Julius as the demon lord. He thought Julius would understand him. Julius asked what he wanted him to understand. He said that in this world, the only one who could sympathize with the loneliness of being an outcast was Julius. And Julius told him that it was true. After he was reincarnated, he was an existence that wasn't accepted by this world. He was constantly confused in this world where his common sense didn't apply. That's why he understood his loneliness. Understanding that, he could say that he cannot walk alongside him, the one who tries to destroy this world. The principal expected that answer from him because he was the hero. While dying, the principal wished he hadn't born a demon, but he was born as his younger brother. After he disappeared, Julius decided that it was time to go home. In the next scene, they prepared a delicious feast and went to the beach to cool off. They watched fireworks, danced around the fire, played games with each other, and laughed so much together. At night, Gaius and Julius were sitting alone by the beach, and Julius asked Gaius' opinion about the headmaster. He said he was a bad guy and asked Julius if he thought of him like that too. He said that he might be just lonely and wanted friends. He also sometimes thinks that way, but Gaius said that was pathetic. He couldn't believe Julius was moping over something like that. It was ridiculous to empathize with a bad guy. He was the one who suggested they all party and celebrate because they beat the big boss. Julius said he didn't know what he might end up like. The headmaster. Gaius yelled at him, saying that he wouldn't end up like this. He wouldn't become like the headmaster. And besides, if he ever got all sulky like him and tried to destroy the world, he would be the one to take him down. So there was no need to worry. Julius was so happy about this talk and then joked that he was not weak enough to be beaten by him yet. It looked like he wouldn't become a destroyer or anything, because he had such an amazing little brother. Meanwhile, someone was in the throne room at the academy. He grabbed the principal's glasses and thought it was too much for him to be the opponent of a hero. It seemed he had proven that the reincarnated hero's strength was still present even after 2,000 years. He decided to give him a good job award. However, this was merely a prologue. From here on, as the prophecy foretells, the world would begin to move in major ways centered around the destroyer Julius and secrets. The story of the world's journey to its end begins now. The man returned to the heavenly realm. That man was Angel Lucifer. He said he had come to offer a few bitter words to everyone in the heavenly realm regarding the matter of the god-slaying. The fact that god-slaying was carried out by a mere human was an emergency. The death of the goddess of time was a grave matter. It should not be forgiven. The gods didn't have any objections about this matter. They decided to obliterate Julius von Carlyle. Lucifer told them that the opponent was a fragile lower species, and getting worked up was childish. That's where he came in. Besides, according to the prophecy, he was said to be the destroyer, and it was too hasty to execute him. He decided to take responsibility and manage Julius for them. The gods were convinced. They said that they were going to entrust the management of Julius on Earth to him. Lucifer then wanted to bring a collaborator with him. He wanted to bring his ill-behaved younger brother from the underworld. Meanwhile, Gaius was training to master transfer magic, and it seemed like it was a success. Now he could transfer freely without using a marker. In the modern era, transfer was considered a lost ancient super magic. To use it without a marker was impossible without several more years of training, but she bet he would have mastered it by next week. Still, Gaius wondered what his brother intended, calling him out to a place deep in the mountains like this. Julius was waving at him from the top of a mountain. Gaius went there too and asked what kind of training they were going to do today. He said it was going to be a little subjugation. Gaius thought about goblins again, but Julius said it would be too easy for him, so they were going to try harder. Gaius was confused because he didn't sense any monsters around here. He said he was going to break that stone over there. After he broke the stone, the floor started moving, and said his opponent was a bit big but he believed he could handle it. Gaius asked where the opponent was while the ground was moving. Gaius realized that it wasn't the ground that was moving, it was the monster. His opponent was an ancient dragon species, behemoth. That stone from before was some kind of seal. Julius said it was just a slightly big lizard, perfect for a warm-up before breakfast. Gaius was freaking out because that was an S-rank quest. And the monster looked angry. Venomzard said it seemed to be in a bad mood from waking up. Gaius told Julius to defeat it. Julius asked if he was giving up and allowed him to run away if he wanted. Gaius figured out what he was trying to do and said he was going to let him hear his complaints when they got back. His battle aura was even more overwhelming than before. As the monster threw its hand on him, he withstands it with both hand and blocked it. While it was trying to crush Gaius with its hand, Gaius used the transfer skill and appeared right in front of its face. When he punched it, the monster was thrown away. He thought he did it, but it wasn't over yet. The monster hit him with its tail. It then started to charge up for the behemoth's destruction beam. If Gaius took a direct hit, he would be turned to cinders. As Big Ball of Beam approached him, Gaius used Magic Battle Fusion Ultimate Cannon Aura and counterattacked. With that, the monster was defeated. It was so cool, but Gaius was trembling in fear because by copying what he saw, he did it. But if he hadn't been able to, he would have died. Julius patted his head and congratulated him. Somehow, he felt like he was getting closer to being human and it was scaring him. Julius asked if they should go for one more, but Gaius said it was more than enough for today. Mao informed Julius that there was something stronger than the behemoth, a 5-minute walk from here. In Underworld Meikai, 2 monsters were fighting. Lucifer arrived and found the place as gloomy as ever. He wondered if that child who was exiled from the heavenly realm for rampaging too much was reflecting on his actions. He found the boy and called his name. He was a beautiful boy and he was so happy to see his brother. A wild behemoth was right behind him, but he easily punched it and killed it. Behemoths from the underworld were 100 times stronger than the ones on the surface, but he could one-shot all of those. Lucifer told him that he was just bullying the weak. It seemed like Michael was bored of the underworld. He wanted an opponent that made his blood boil and his flesh dance. Lucifer said he had brought just such a job for him, but he said he didn't want to work. Lucifer told him that this was his chance to finally leave the underworld. Michael asked what kind of job it was. He said it was managing a human on the surface. Michael said taking care of some small fry like that sounded boring. But when Lucifer said he was a godslayer, he was interested. Lucifer asked if he was interested now, and he said he was getting super excited. Now that he convinced him, Lucifer wanted to head to the surface. In the next scene, the teacher was introducing the new transfer student, Michael von Graham. The students were surprised because it was the middle of the semester. They heard he was the new chairman's younger brother. Michael saw Julius and said his face wasn't his type. Historia was furious and told him not to hit on her darling. Michael told Julius that he was going to hit him hard. In the next scene, Julius brought Gaius his lunch. He was getting ready for school, but Julius didn't seem ready at all. Gaius told him that he was going to be late if he kept dawdling. He said he was being a little standoffish. Venomzard started laughing and said he was just jealous because he had been fawning over the mysterious transfer student. Gaia was not at peace in his heart. Gaius asked Venomzard not to say such selfish things. Julius asked why she was in his brother's room. She said she was up all night enjoying a card game with Gaius. After getting ready, Julius told Gaius not to worry about the transfer student. Gaius was confused because it had nothing to do with him. Julius asked Venomzard what he should do. She said he couldn't help but be curious about it because a love triangle was the best part of a rom-com. Elita and Sakura came and greeted them. The summer uniforms looked great on them. Gaius seemed like he was in a bad mood. The girls were confused, so Venomzard said it was a brother complex. While he was about to say something, Michael came and asked if he knew that having a thing for his brother was so out of style. They were all shocked because they didn't even realize he was back there. But Julius knew it was a quick step art. It was some kind of wizardry. He said he got him good there. Bringing out some old skills like that. He got excited and disappeared again. He reappeared on top of the light and said he was clearly different from those other losers. Sakura asked Julius who he was. He just kept disappearing and reappearing everywhere. But Julius didn't know anything about him either. He asked why an angel like him was following him around. He wondered if he was on the late principal's side. Everyone was shocked that he figured he was an angel. Julius said there was no issue with him being an angel at all. No matter how talented he may be, he couldn't hide the distinct air that someone of his strength limits. He was some higher-ranking angel. Michael started laughing and told him that he had nothing to do with that former principal. His brother told him to lie low and watch how things unfold, but he was just too intriguing to leave alone. And he didn't think he could hold back any more than this. He wanted to get a taste of him, so he used the territory skill to fight with Julius. Everyone was confused because they suddenly transferred to a whole different place. Venomzard told him to be at ease because they were simply inside the lad's barrier magic. It was magic that created an isolated space and kept the opponent locked inside. High-ranked angels love to pull off this kind of tactic, and he even kept himself there. He said he set it up so only individuals stronger than a certain level would get sucked inside, but Gaius was also there. Meanwhile, outside the barrier, Elise and Sakura were freaking out. Julius told Michael that he had trained Gaius himself. Michael said it didn't seem like he was no pushover himself. Suddenly, Gaius's body started to feel really heavy. Michael said inside this barrier his power gets a juicy bonus, and everyone else was weakened. Weaklings like Gaius couldn't even fight properly. He told Gaius to get out of there if it hurt. But Gaius focused on his aura. As long as he kept up his aura, he was perfectly fine. Michael didn't see any reason for him to get fired up because he created this barrier so that Julius and he could duke it out. This was no place for some pushover like him. Now Gaius had it. He was not going to let him insult him any more than this and asked if it was fine with Julius. Julius told him to go ahead. He said that it was 10 years too early for him to even dream of fighting his brother and he was going to be his opponent. He told him to come to him. Michael showed his wings and told him not to underestimate him. He might not look like it, but he is one of the 7 great angels of heaven. Basically what people call a seraph. Venomzard said he was a bit different from the mass-produced ones the principal used. Julius said he was incredibly strong. Michael wanted to start with a Spear of Heaven. That ability was the high-energy wave that one angel attacked them with. But it was a lot bigger. Gaius saved himself at the last minute, but when he turned his back, another one was approaching him. There was no time to run away from that one. Michael said he got killed off right in the prologue. When they said it was quite impressive, Michael thought they were talking about him. But Julius said he was more impressed with him for withstanding his Heaven Spear. Gaius was alive and healthy, standing right in front of him. He said that he kept calling him a weakling and a pushover, yet he couldn't even finish him off. He said that angels were a lot more forgiving than he thought. Michael decided to show him something even better and created a sphere of light. He turned his back on dodging it, but it was too late. He had already been surrounded by his Heaven Sea Mines. He hides them with his stealth skill, but Venomzard wondered why he would keep them floating around. Julius said he was just fooling around in a nasty way. If Gaius touched them once, he would explode. But he said he would let him go if he begged for his life. That wasn't an option for Gaius, and he even mocked him for that. Michael called him an idiot and told him to die. The sea mines started exploding, and Gaius was in the middle of them. Suddenly, he appeared right behind Michael and slashed his wings. Julius was impressed. Gaius couldn't believe Venomzard could actually cut through an angel's barrier that easily. She said she was amazing. Michael was shocked and asked what the deal with that sword was and how he appeared behind him. Julius explained that Gaius just stopped time. Before the explosions went off, he stopped for about 5 seconds and then had the Demon Lord change into a sword, cut through the barrier to escape outside and directly appear behind him. Michael was shocked that a mere human could stop time, and a barrier of this magnitude wasn't normally something you could just leave and re-enter as you please. Gaius told him not to look down on him because he was a human. Michael started to get real with him now. He said that there was no way out now, even if he got on his knees. He swore his entire soul would turn to dust once he was done with him. This was too much for Gaius. He was sure he was going to kill him. But suddenly, Julius touched Michael's shoulder and told him to leave it at that and made fun of him for taking this so seriously. He was shocked, and he said he was going to kill him. He wouldn't rest easily until he slices him into minced meat. He was about to threaten him, but the moment Julius touched his face with a finger, he was unable to move. After one more tap, an enormous power went through him. He said that he was going to make that vision a reality. Michael was frozen there. When they got back to the Earth, Michael was crying his eyes out because it was so scary. Throughout all his years, he had never been so terrified of anything. Sakura asked Julius what he did to make him bawl his eyes out like this. He said he went too far, so he quelled the flames, and that was all. Gaius wondered what his deal was because he was the one who started the whole thing. Seemed like he was still a bit of a child deep inside. Now that he learned his lesson, Julius told him to stop bothering them from now on. He kept crying because Julius was so strong. But now that it had come to this, he had to act like a man and take a leap. Julius asked if he wanted to do it again. He asked Julius to take responsibility and become his older brother. Everyone was shocked, except Gaius. He was furious. He asked what the hell he was talking about. Michael said Julius's strength completely won him over and he was going to be an even better brother than Gaius. Julius found him cute, so he said it was fine. But Gaius was furious. And thus Julius found himself with a second younger brother. In the next scene, Lucifer, as the new chairman, asked Gaius to accept his dear younger brother as his newest family member. Michael was so happy and couldn't wait to be with Julius. After they excused themselves from his room, Gaius asked what the hell was going on. None of that made any sense. He asked Julius what they were going to do now because he forced that weirdo on them. Julius told him not to be rude because Michael was not going to do anything stupid, so it would be just one more brother in their family. He didn't think it was a big deal. Gaius yelled at him that it was indeed a big deal. He was an angel, and they had no idea what the board chairman was plotting. Not only that, but the Graham Dukedom was also one of the major families of the empire, with a long-lasting history. This was just so sudden. And he might have connections to the roaming demons as the principal did. And they must be on their guard all the time. Michael told him to pipe down a bit because it was utterly ridiculous to assume the angels like them had anything to do with those lowly demons. Venomzard told Gaius not to let it get to his head. Julius was the strongest there was and yet also blind to any evil intentions in the brewing. But there was no reason for him to worry. Lucifer overheard them and opened his door asking if someone was calling him a villain behind his back. He said that Julius was the reincarnated brave with the demon lord Venomzard at his side, so he was not so senseless as to antagonize two superpowers like them. Gaius told him that their very own principal betrayed them, so it would be hard for them to put faith in someone like him. He asked if he was referring to Isles. He said that what happened to him was truly unfortunate. He always was a talented individual, but no one could have foreseen that he plotted to make him Julius the ruler of this new world. But he told them that he was not like him. He was going to do his utmost to ensure that peace and tranquility were a guarantee for all students. They didn't seem convinced though. Julius said it didn't matter if he was coming from a good place or not. If it looked like he was plotting something against all of them, he would beat him up himself with the very fist of his. Lucifer told him not to worry because he was an advocate of peace after all. Later that day, Julius and Gaius' parents welcomed their new son. Venomzard said those morons truly couldn't care less about his little brother. Apparently, some things never change. Michael thanked them for looking after him starting today. They said they were going to take good care of him, and just having him here had served to raise their own standing. Julius had no idea what the hell was going on here. Gaius said thanks to their family taking in Michael, the very son of a distinguished noble family, their reputation and standing had taken a drastic turn for the better, and of course that would put them in a good mood. They prepared a luxurious dinner for Michael. On the table, Gaius asked what angels were. He said that angels were just angels, and told him to read a book. Gaius yelled at him that they didn't learn about them in school. Julius explained to Gaius that they act as direct servants of the gods, intermediating between them and the humans below and accommodating their needs if necessary. Put simply, they were the gods' gophers. He asked if he meant that goddess Hora, whom he fought the other day, and he said yes. He wondered if there were more gods like her around. Julius said he never actually counted, but there was bound to be lots more in heaven. Gaius didn't even know what heaven was. He said it was the heavenly realm that resides above the world of humans. Under any normal circumstances, the gods would remain in their own realm, without meddling with the humans they watch over. And that was what they were reusing their angels for. But the principal summoned a goddess and broke the taboo. Generally, the gods let humans handle their own problems. That was their stance on things. As such, they usually don't get their hands dirty in any human business. Gaius asked if that was the case 2,000 years ago. When the Demon Lord was rampaging through these lands, the gods remained neutral. If they had defeated the Demon Lord, he wouldn't have had a role to play. But he said he fought the angels and the gods before. Julius responded that when they were in the middle of Ragnarok, he had to beat up those arrogant gods and angels. Gaius was shocked. Venomzard told him that it was also known as the Twilight of the Gods. It was a war that happened in the ancient past. 2,000 years ago, the gods as well as their angels sought to end humanity. Gaius were more confused because they were supposed to keep their hands off their affairs. And not to mention, humanity was still alive and well today. Julius said it was because he stopped them back then. He really needed the full story now. Venomzard told him that 2,000 years ago the reign of the Demon Lord, also known as the Dark Ages, prevailed for a long time. After the hero Alan's futile attempt to stop her, a further 10 years passed until that day arrived. From the heavens, countless angels descended, all to rid the human world of the Demon Lord, as well as humanity that dwells on it. Gaius asked why humans got wrapped up in that battle. She said it was simple. The humans, created by the hands of the gods, losing against the demons was something the gods could never accept. As such, they chose to wipe out every single living being. This was a selfish thing to do, and so the end of times arrived, and they called it Ragnarok. Angels filled up the sky like stars in space, befitting of the end of the world. The sight was terrifying, yet equally beautiful. But in the midst of that, Julius appeared. He showed up to save the day. Gaius asked what happened next. He said he beat up all of them, and it was over. Gaius seemed disappointed. He decided not to rush his story and tell him what happened. When the battle dragged on for a long time, he was starting to feel drained from all the attacks coming from the endless number of angels. He sensed something terrible, and when he turned his back, he saw the Demon Lord. Gaius guessed that she joined to finish off the weak and brave. Julius thought the same thing at first, but what happened was different. The monster turned into a human and said that if he wished to challenge those frivolous gods, he was going to give him his strength. After all, he wanted to be the one to make him meet his end, so he asked to put their battle on hold for a little while. Until that point, he never even considered working with the Demon Lord to defeat the angels. Gaius asked why she could fight together with the brave. She said she couldn't stand idly by and watch those gods do as they pleased. All they wanted was to hide their own incompetence. It went right against her own principles, and she would not approve of their antics, and that's why she decided to team up with her enemy. To be fair, she was the one who put Gramps through all that, so at the time he couldn't help but despise her. But at the end of their long battle, he came to realize that she was not all that bad. And now they had deepened their bond, so they were basically joined at the hip. Julius wondered why she changed into a woman when she looked like a man back then. She said he just felt like it. Still, he wouldn't have been able to stop Ragnarok all by himself, so he appreciated all the help. What's more, he grew even stronger than ever during their battles. And finally, through their shared efforts, they drove back the forces of heaven. By the end, a bunch of opponents showed up, but they beat them all. And once everything was over, peace returned to the human realm once more. Gaius asked how many times he saved the world until he finally got a break, but Gaius could see it now. He knew exactly how to fight those angels as well as the goddess. Everyone was so stuffed after dinner. Michael wanted Julius to carry him to his room. Panicked, Gaius asked what he was going to do with him. Michael wanted to sleep with his dear brother today, so he was going to listen to him. From Gaius's reaction, Julius asked if he wanted to join them. Gaius was so embarrassed that he ran out of the room. While walking to Michael's room, Venomzard told Julius that angels seemed to be on the move. Chances are, heaven intends to get back at him for halting Ragnarok all those years ago. He had to be on his guard. He said he would do that, but he would just be fine. Even if they plotted another Ragnarok against them, he had got Venomzard on his side and they would handle it together. The next day, the current emperor of the Madurkus Empire, Hannibal von Madurkus, asked Lucifer and Duke Graham if they intended to start a war with them. Historia opened the door and told them that her father, the king, had been summoned by his excellent emperor, and they were saying a war might start because of Julius. Julius didn't expect something like that to happen during their basketball game. Historia's father, the king of Gaita, asked what brought them the honor of welcoming him to their esteemed country. He believed they had always been on favorable terms, so he wondered what brought up this conversation. Hannibal told him to stop talking and asked why he betrayed them. They could physically feel his anger reaching their body. Lucifer said he had simply been scouted. Their dear king here just wouldn't let up and kept fervently begging the Graham family to affiliate themselves with the Gaita kingdom. As such, he decided to double-cross the empire and become a citizen of the kingdom. Hannibal told the king that Duke Graham was a valued and trusted noble of their empire, yet he invited him to his own domain. That act in itself was more than enough evidence of his antagonism toward their empire. Surely he must have been aware of this. The king was trembling and shaking in fear. He said that compared to his great empire, they were a mere small kingdom in the boonies and they wouldn't dare to do that. He begged him to believe him and let him live. Hannibal told him to raise his head and said he was not going to kill him. Knowing that moron of a duke, he was probably just blurting out nonsense as always. He had long grown accustomed to his antics. Hannibal told Lucifer that he had experienced his misdeeds and schemes many times himself, and now he was even involving another country in his mischief. Lucifer asked if he was sure about this. After all, his own brother had joined the Corrail family as their son, meaning his very own Graham dukedom was now well acquainted with their country. Their beloved king here would certainly benefit from all the fortune that this unity would bring. And on top of that, this would destroy the fragile balance between them and the surrounding countries all the same. Both Hannibal and the king were shocked. Lucifer asked if he was sure he should let this slide. Hannibal thought about it for a moment and excused himself. The king said he had no intention of staining their relationship with him even if he left. Lucifer asked Hannibal how he surmised the people or how his subordinates would react once information about the Graham family's betrayal reached the empire. Hannibal said they would use it to spark a war. He asked if that was the scenario he came up with. He acted clueless, but Hannibal felt nothing but pity. A monster like him who even the empire cannot contain had now set its eyes on this wretched country. Meanwhile, at Julius's and the others' school, Historia told them what happened. Venomzard asked if that meant the emperor might be declaring war on them. Historia confirmed her and said her father had completely lost his mind and locked himself in his room. Gaius asked what he was going to do. Julius asked why he had to do anything. He was just a student and he didn't care about wars and conflicts. That sounded pretty irresponsible. Venomzard said a war between humans would result in only several thousand casualties. Julius responded that when she was still around, those numbers would be nothing. This was more like a child's play to them. They continued to play basketball after that. In the next scene, Elisa brought some snacks for Michael. He seemed to love Elise, but Gaius was sure that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Julius commented that it didn't take Michael long to get accustomed to school life. He said school was so much fun. Gaius told Julius that he had never once done his homework since coming here. Michael didn't even know what homework meant. Speaking of, Gaius asked what their homework was this time around. Elise said there was one from their magic potion class. They need to make potions themselves. Elise hasn't gotten around to finishing hers yet either, but Gaius had already done that. Elise asked if he could show her and he used ancient magic dimensional storage to grab it. Elisa was shocked and freaked out about that magic. He said it was a subspace he created and didn't understand what the fuss was about. She told him that no normal person couldn't control time and space like that, and it was also forbidden. Gaius panicked because he saw Julius using it without batting an eye, so he thought he had turned into a monster like him. Julius told him to calm down. Having a subspace like this was very convenient for storing snacks. They were treating it like a regular breakfast in the morning. After that, they went to the lab to finish their homework. Venomzard was excited that they were going to entertain her. Julius told her to hold on because they were not making food for her. Gaius asked why they were using the kitchen. In order to create a working potion, they needed profound knowledge and understanding of its mechanics as well as the right tools to measure the ingredients, paired with a clean laboratory. Julius responded that they didn't need all that. They were just making regular potions that they could prepare in the wild. They were confused, so they told him to try to make one right now. For starters, he brought random herbs that grow around here. They added that into a pot of boiling water, mixed in whatever seasoning they saw fit, and finished it off with a touch of alchemy magic. With that, he created a Julius-style potion. They were puzzled because all he did was boil some herbs. Gaius said it didn't look like one of the potions he knew and then asked if that was an elixir. Julius said it was just a regular old potion. Gaius showed his own potion and told him that a regular potion looked like this. Julius bet it tasted nasty, but potions weren't meant for taste. They were bitter medicine to stop blood loss. Julius responded that with his potion he would be able to recover from having his limbs chopped off or his head severed from his body. And that was actually the description of an elixir. Michael wanted to have a taste, and he let him. It was far removed from any regular potions. The taste was riddled with aroma, and if he had to describe it, he was like a princess sitting on the shore of a lake right after the thawing of winter, playing the flute. Gaius and Elisa asked if it really tasted that good because it was supposed to be a potion. They all wanted to try it and loved how it tasted. Julius said it was because it was a potion. He said he made sure to give it a rich chocolate flavor. When they showed it to the teacher, he was shocked to see an elixir because all he had given them as homework was to create a simple potion. He asked who submitted this, and Julius raised his hand. He said that the elixir they knew could only be concocted using one of the rarest ingredients known to them. He asked how he managed to create one like this. Julius responded that he grabbed some herbs from the backyard and boiled them. When Michael said it tasted like chocolate, the teacher didn't believe them. But if it were true, this discovery would be groundbreaking enough to shake the very foundation of their knowledge on potions. His reaction didn't fill Julius with confidence. The teacher said that if they could reproduce this, he would obtain a limitless fortune. He said he didn't care either way and told him to have it. The teacher then passed out. Back at home, Gaius told them that even though they finished their homework in time, it didn't end here. It was time for Michael to study. Michael immediately refused him. He said that he hasn't studied a minute since he enrolled and they had end-of-term exams starting tomorrow. And he believed he spent most of their classes just asleep at his desk too. He said he wanted to play with Julius instead of studying. Gaius didn't let him weasel his way out of this any longer. He was a member of the Corral family, and he would not let him diminish their family's honor by scoring terribly in school. Julius asked if he didn't feel bad for the poor gut. He said no because he thought Julius was spoiling him too much. There was no running away from this. They were going to start with monster zoology. Julius decided to teach him along the way if he gave him a shot. Michael sat on his lap and asked him to teach him. After Gaius warned them, Julius started teaching him about the monsters. He gave her the book that he had written down all of the monsters he encountered in this world. It was so detailed and handwritten too. He wrote it from scratch. The textbooks they got in school were too incomplete. They asked when he made it and he said he rushed to make it during dinner. All those details were too much for Michael. He said most of them came from his gramps and his teachings. He wasn't just strong in battle, but he also excelled in his studies. Michael wasn't sure why he had to sit and study. Gaius told him that graduating was the bare minimum. He had to overcome his brother and become the number one. No amount of effort was too much for that. Michael laughed at him for his goal. Julius scolded him for making fun of other people's hard work and told him to apologize to Gaius right now. Michael didn't expect a reaction from Julius, so he was very sorry, and Gaius was shocked by how cute he was while apologizing. He said he wasn't angry anymore and told him to go back to studying. After studying for a long time, Michael fell asleep at the table, and Julius decided to go back to his room and get some sleep. Gaius said he would keep going for just a little longer. He then asked if he was going to take tomorrow's exam. He took the spot of the scholarship student all the way back in their first term, and for that reason he was excused from all exams and tests. If he didn't take the exams, then Gaius was guaranteed to rank first, but he still said he was going to take them. He didn't think it would make him happy to come in first place if he wasn't taking part. Gaius confirmed to him that his pride wouldn't allow him an easy victory like that. And Gaius forbid him to hold back. He was going to challenge him with everything he had, so he didn't want him to go easy on him. In the next scene, an army of 100,000 men was waiting outside the empire. Hannibal asked Lucifer what the meaning of this was. Lucifer asked if he shouldn't be on his way to the Holy Empire. He admitted that a rare magic item like the marionette impressed him. Hannibal told him that he would rather not have left the empire behind during these times. Marionette allows the user to control an exact copy of themselves, even from a long distance. So the real Hannibal was away. He knew he would be up to no good if left to his own devices. But to think he would go out of his way to gather thousands of soldiers like this in a single night was too much. Lucifer said he was here as a mere simple puppet and he could only watch as things unfold, and while he was gone, the right to order all those soldiers was his. With all of them at his command, he wondered what he was plotting. He said it was simple. His dear beloved brother had been captured by the accursed Gaias kingdom, so he was going to take him back by force if necessary. Meanwhile, Julius was dealing with exams. Witnessing such a large army was quite intimidating for the soldiers. They didn't know how to feel about moving this big a force during these peaceful times. They didn't even know who they were fighting. Some of them were told that their opponent was a vile one who threatens the world as a whole, but they weren't even sure what this meant. Some guessed it might be a monster on the same level as the evil god Gandasblood. But the evil god was sealed away thousands of years ago, so it was ridiculous. Some heard that Duke Graham's younger brother was supposedly captured by the enemy. They were worried about the legendary warrior who once defeated the ancient dragon during its rampage and thus saved the empire from annihilation all by himself. Their grandfather told them he was as strong as the devil himself. Meanwhile, Michael was in an exam, and he sneezed. The teacher asked if he had caught a cold. He felt like someone was talking about him behind his back. The soldiers said their opponent was strong enough to have abducted one of the heroes of their empire, and they could not take this lightly. Saving the abducted hero was the scenario he went with this time to fit his agenda. Lucifer said all of them ate it up like the pure and prideful soldiers they were. Hannibal asked if he didn't send his own brother to that country. He said he did, and he was sure his brother was very much enjoying his new life over there. Hannibal told him to stop this pointless squabble instantly. However, Lucifer snapped his fingers, and his clone disappeared. By the time Hannibal made it back here, it would all be too late, so he wanted him to shut up and watch. He was going to make sure to thoroughly report the results of their great war. Suddenly, a light appeared on the mountain, and he thought he had informed them to make their appearance not quite this soon, but they were impatient. The sky started to get pretty dark all of a sudden. After that, cracks started forming in the sky. A long-haired man appeared, saying he was supposed to be on his way to defeat that man at the orders of the fool, but he found a whole army instead. The soldiers asked who he was, and he said his name was Hades, and he was one of the gods governing over the Hell Realm. It pained him to tell them this, but they were going to be his feast for the next few minutes. The soldiers were confused as to what he was talking about. Hades told them that from now on their souls would be offered to the great Lord Hades as a delicious appetizer. Something started covering the sky, and it was what one would call a barrier. He summoned a part of hell into this moral realm. Faces of people in hell appeared in the sky, and soldiers started to freak out. They couldn't get out of this barrier and were stuck. It didn't end here, and something was coming out from the ground. They were Hellbeast Baskerville. There were so many of them that they tried not to fall back. Some of them didn't want to embarrass themselves like that, so they attacked the monsters, but the monsters bit their swords. The weaponry of the Empire had been crafted by a genius alchemist using genuine orichalcum, and yet it snapped in two like chopsticks. Hades found them funny for trying to defeat the monsters of hell. He was enjoying watching them shake in fear, quiver in terror, and die pointless deaths. Their worthless souls were his nourishment. Meanwhile, Lucifer appeared in the exam and said their test for the afternoon would be a practical magic exam. The students were confused and asked why he was even here. He said he was dying of boredom in his office, so he figured he should come watch the young ones, and he just had to see Julius's real power at least once. Gaius asked Michael if his brother was plotting something. He said he had no idea, but it was clear as day that he was up to no good. Lucifer wanted them to start the practical exam. Elisa said their practical magic exams back in middle school had all been held in special training rooms, so she wondered if there was a reason why they were outside today. He responded that they had Julius today, and he made the active choice to move outside for the magical exam, as they couldn't risk putting other students in danger. Julius was annoyed because he wasn't some violent beast that couldn't differentiate between friend and foe. As for the details of the exam, they asked him to look at the dummy over there, and he asked them to hit it with 3 types of magic. That seemed pretty interesting, actually. The students started, and the first one used fire, lightning, and wind magic. They were so impressed that he could use 3 of them. Meanwhile, Sakura used burn strike and burned the target into flames. Elisa used windstorm, Historia's lightning bolt, and they all thanked Julius for training them. Compared to the other students, those girls around Julius were on a whole different level. Not only did he dare to one-up him, but now the girls were a clear cut above him. Suddenly, something started exploding. It was Gaius's turn, and he impressed everyone with his abilities. He turned to look at Julius, and he seemed quite confident. The next one was Julius. He said it was time to get warmed up and be an older brother that Gaius could be proud of. He then noticed that everyone moved far away from him. They said that safety was first and asked if he wasn't going to overdo it again. He asked why he would hold back. They were shocked, but he said he made a promise that he wouldn't hold back today. He was going to go all out and make his brother proud. The girls were panicking so hard because he was in serious mode. They tried to get as much distance between them as possible. Michael made fun of them for being so scared and created a strong barrier to protect the students. Julius appreciated this favor. He said he would help him out as much as he wanted if he got to see him go all out. Since he had to use 3 types of magic, he decided to go with acceleration and showed them something they had never seen. Elisa asked Venomzard if they were going to be fine because it looked so scary. She said that she had never laid eyes on such a beast of spell. Even she was terrified, so they were freaking out so badly. After that, Julius used Rising Sun and created a whole other sun. He then flung it at that dummy. They told him to throw it somewhere far away, so he decided to send it back to space. When he turned his back, he saw that everyone looked like they saw a ghost. They refused to call that a regular magic spell. Not even Michael's barrier could protect. He moved on with his second magic spell and used Divine Domain magic, Black Nebula. It was even sucking up the nearby monsters. After the sun, he created a whole black hole. Venomzard told him to stop this, but he said he hadn't even hit that dummy over there. Nobody cared about that, so he stopped and asked if everyone was safe. Venomzard asked what in the world that magic was. He said that it was Divine Domain magic. Gramps came up with the logic and workings behind it, and he completed the spells. It was magic that allowed the user to recreate divine miracles. Venomzard was shocked because he never relied on such spells when they were in battle all those years ago. He responded that it was because he never had enough magic to cast them. But now that they were bound together, he had got twice as much, and thanks to that, he could actually use that magic. Lucifer congratulated him and asked what his final magic spell would be. He told him to wait, and he had something really special. For this one, he was going all out. His ultimate magic is called Leondes.